welcome to the Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, episode number 44. Yes, 44. This is the shallow end of horror, ladies and gentlemen. Dave Z. I'm the guy who's useless without my notes, and that's a fact. I'm going to bring in the crew tonight. We have, first, the man who is finally being vindicated, and he deserves to be. He deserves to be. And he better not get used to me blowing him like this, because it's not going to happen again. But, Christian, what's up?
You're all teeth. That's it. That's all I've got. I feel vindicated. I didn't get as much love as I wanted on the Facebook page, but that's okay. That's okay. And of course, if you don't know what we're talking about, because we didn't introduce that at all, it's
introduce the other people first.
Yeah, you could.
Are we just gonna have you and I talk for 10 minutes about Tom Savini? Really?
Go ahead.
Who's that?
I need no introduction.
You need an introduction. I'll tell you why you need an introduction. Because you are the man that I'm giving blame to. This is the opposite.
Why is everybody's been yelling at me this week?
I'm not yelling. I'm just saying that I'm personally holding you responsible because you lost my thrill at Cherry Hill. And you know what I'm talking about. Fairuza freaking did not show up all of a sudden. As soon as you told us you were going to that freaking thing, Fairuza freaking bailed.
Well, the restraining order was an issue, so the judge decided that it would be best if she just stayed behind this time.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So, yeah, that's Brandon, everybody, in case you didn't know.
Hello, everybody.
and special, very special guest tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, she's one half of the Girls in the Back Row. She's one half of the Test Pattern podcast. And in a very short time, she's become one of my favorite podcasters. This is Tab. What's up?
Hi. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Your mic is so much better than ours. I said it before we started recording. I'm going to say it again. It's just too good for the show.
It's too good for our life.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for saving me from Christian.
Oh, Tab, if you don't know who that is, that's Control-Alt-Delete.
Oh, my God.
I told you the jokes are horrible today.
Oh, man. All right. Nothing I say for the rest of this show will even compare to that. Although, to be honest, Christian, I was thinking along the lines all week. I'm like, something with the keyboard. I'm like, what am I going to say? But I came up with nothing, so I'm glad you made the joke.
That's the caliber. I'm sorry, Tab. That's the caliber of comedy on this show. Yeah.
No, I'm just happy to be here, so thank you guys.
And only Christian and Tab can see, as well as I can, but for the listeners, we also have the Unabomber joining us. I thought it was Dave Z, but it looks like the Unabomber. It looks like he's recording from a remote location, and he's got a very long, wickedly gray beard.
Wickedly gray. Oh,
I don't know.
God.
Yeah, Derek's rubbing off.
He's wearing an American flag T-shirt like all those extremists do.
It's not even an American flag. I mean, there's an American flag on it, but do you see what's on it?
That Rocky?
Oh, Rocky. Is that Rocky 4?
Yes.
That is Rocky 4.
It's Rocky 4. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, Tab, we got to ask you the question. Rocky 4 or A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2? What's your choice?
Well, I would say I've only ever seen Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. I've never seen Rocky 4, so I have to go with that one by default.
I'll take it. Yes.
Wow.
Even though I'm wearing the Rocky 4 shirt, I wanted your answer to be Nightmare on Elm Street 2 because I do consider it better. Yes.
Awesome.
Still the oddest question ever. Only on this show does it make sense.
I know. Well, exactly. So, Tab, no Rocky, huh? You don't like... Are you just a straight... No, I know you're not straight horror because, the whole Test Pattern thing in the beginning. This is what's weird.
Horror?
No, listen. I horror. What are you talking about?
She said she's straight horror. I asked if you she said she's not straight.
Wow.
All right. I didn't think I could bring it down so quickly, but I did it. All right, go ahead, Dave.
You were just bragging. He was just bragging a minute ago that Christian freaking said something stupid.
I'm actually going to...
Control-Alt-Delete is a hit now.
Yeah, CAD. Just call him CAD from now on.
Heavy on the delete.
So Tab, Girls in the Back Row. First of all, how did that show get started?
Well, Kate was the girlfriend of a guy that my husband worked with, and I started talking about how I liked horror movies, and she did as well. And for a female horror fan, it's very unusual to find another female horror fan. So immediately I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I eventually asked her if she wanted to do a podcast, because I listened to a ton of podcasts and I wanted to do my own. And we just kind of started the show and went from there. And then Fangoria, right at the time we were starting the show, started their podcast network, which is, I think, no longer going. But it was just the serendipitous. It was the right time, right place. And we ended up getting on Fangoria, and we went for about a year with them, and then they kind of dissolved. And we're pretty much on hiatus right now. But that's how we ended up getting together.
Nice. So you met her in real life. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. That doesn't usually happen. Usually when people, get podcasts together, they've met online or in some horror forum or, something that isn't
Grindr.
Real life.
Grindr.
Grindr, sure, sometimes.
Not Jersey.
So,
you guys have great chemistry, too. I don't say that often. I mean, it really comes through. You guys play off one another quite well on the show.
Oh, well, thank you. I think it works because we're total opposites. She's very outgoing and I'm very shy. So we work to balance each other out.
No, it's great. And you seem outgoing to me because I listen to you. You're never at a loss for words. And you know what I mean? It's not like you're shy.
Oh, I can talk forever about movies, but I'm not good with small talk. So.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Leave Brandon's penis out of it.
Damn it! I was about to make the joke about Christian's penis. Damn, you beat me to it.
You see what I'm working with? Oh, this is good.
I was literally about to say it.
Awesome. So it's 1-0 Christian so far.
Yep.
I say 2.
So you're doing that show, and then Test Pattern comes around because Jacob was a listener. Is that what you told me? He was a listener of Girls in the Back Row, and then he contacted you or something, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. How did that come about?
So we were offering stickers, and he emailed and said he wanted a sticker, and then we kind of were emailing back and forth. And it turned out that he hosted a podcast with a friend of his, and I listened to it to check it out, and it was really awesome. He's a great podcaster, for sure. He has a great personality, and I was starting to do Test Pattern for a local radio station here in Sun Prairie, and it's really hard doing a show by yourself. That's not my strong suit. So I asked him if he wanted to join the show, and we just sort of turned the format around, and it is what it is now, which is we pick 2 movies that have the same theme, and we talk about them at length.
Yeah. No, it's great. And the reason I even got on this was because I was saying non-horror, that I didn't know if you watched non-horror. And then I was remembering that I've been listening to Girls in the Back Row for like a year now. And I hadn't listened to Test Pattern until recently because 2 or 3 times you had brought it up and you said, I'm watching such and such movie for Test Pattern. And every time you brought it up on Girls in the Back Row, it was a non-horror movie. So maybe you just only happened to mention those. It was just happenstance. So here I am thinking, well, that show must not be horror. I'm not going to listen to it. So I didn't know, and now I've started listening to it, and it's mostly horror. So,
Yeah, it's mostly horror. We do a couple like stuff of movies that we used to watch late at night, like TNT Up All Night, that kind of thing, or USA Up All Night, I guess it would be. But so we did Conan, we did some things that scared us as kids, so Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. So it kind of fits with horror, but not really.
Right. So you do watch things that are non-horror, but not Rocky.
Absolutely.
But not Rocky.
I have seen the first Rocky, I just haven't seen the others.
That's acceptable, I guess. I just remembered something. You're an Army of Darkness fan, too, are you not?
I am, yeah.
Nice! Yeah, it doesn't get enough love on this show, in my opinion. I love Army of Darkness.
Okay.
I have a poster signed by Bruce Campbell, so I am definitely an Army of Darkness fan.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no idea that Christian was an Army of Darkness fan until just this moment. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, we did the best number 3s. I think it was my number 2.
What? The best number 3s. I think it was
the top.
Oh, okay.
The top 10.
I got you.
Go fuck yourself. You're the one that came up with this fucking thing to do.
I spaced. I don't have notes. I don't.
It was his number 2, part 3.
I really did not articulate that well at all, but you should have known.
Yeah, I should have known, right? I'm useless without a note, and you think I'm going to remember that? Yeah, okay. So, Army of Darkness. Christian loves it. It's funny because earlier Watson posted something on his page, and it said, "Can you guys think of a franchise where you love every movie?" And he said, "For me, it's Evil Dead because I love 1, 2, Army of Darkness, and the remake." And I got to tell you, I don't think I have an answer for that because I don't love Army of Darkness. You're correct. I like it. It's just not my cup of tea the way part 1 is, and I don't know. I digress with that, but
I'm with you on that. I don't think I love it, but I'm strong enough on the Saw franchise to say I love even the weaker of the entries.
Wow, there's not one franchise where I love every movie, no matter what. I don't think there is.
See, at one point I could have said Evil Dead 1, 2, and 3. At one point I could have said they were all 10 out of 10s for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved that series. 1 being the horror movie that it is, 2 being the slapsticky sort of souped up redo slash sequel, and then 3 being a great follow up to that. Yeah, of course it's more action oriented and heavy on the comedy, but I loved it.
But so you would pick that as your movie, as your franchise? You love every movie in it?
See, but no, the funny thing about it, and again, because I just listened to this, Girls in the Back Row too. You guys were really talking high praises for the director of the remake who did Don't Breathe. Fede, yeah. And I'm not really a fan of either of those 2 movies. I liked them. I didn't love them. Stylistically amazing. Sorry, Tab.
No, that's right. I would say I'm probably on par with you. I love the first 3 films. I liked the remake, but I don't necessarily love it. I would say if we're counting the remake, then my franchise would have to be the Cornetto trilogy by Edgar Wright. I love all 3 of those movies.
You know, nice. I haven't seen them. I've only seen Shaun. I haven't seen the other 2. What's the other one? Hot Fuzz or something?
Hot Fuzz and World's End, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I've never seen
Hot Fuzz is my favorite of those 3.
Wow. Really?
Oh,
Hot Fuzz. I love Shaun of the Dead. Hot Fuzz to me is like a perfect movie.
I think that's the best homage to what it's going for.
Yeah.
World's End is probably my favorite.
You know what? I only saw World's End once. I mean, I did love it the first time I saw it, but I mean, it's hard for me to not like anything those guys do. I'm a fan of theirs, so I'm definitely have to revisit it again.
Speaking of non-horror, did you guys see Baby Driver? Since we're talking about Edgar Wright,
I never heard of it.
I've heard of it, and you know what? I do want to see it. And I've heard positive things about it. It's just such an awful title for a film.
That already came and went, right?
It did come and go.
Yeah. It really is a bad title, but it's a great movie. And if you love car chase movies, like if you like the original Italian Job and Vanishing Point and stuff like that, it's awesome.
Oh, nice. Now it's definitely getting bumped up to a must-see soon.
She said Italian Job, Brandon,
not hand job. Oh, not hand job. Oh, jeez.
Oh, man. Nice. What is Hot Fuzz? What is it? Is it spoofing? Is it like buddy cop dramas or something? Or I have no idea what it's supposed to be. I just know that they're cops.
It's a buddy cop movie, but it's also a slasher movie. I don't think people think of it being a horror movie, but it totally is. It's totally a slasher movie.
Well, I'm watching it. Okay, that's all I need to hear. Okay, the S word. Wow, there's slasher elements.
Oh, without a doubt, it is a slasher film, but it's also heavy doses of comedy. Heavy doses of action. You know, it's definitely got some graphic parts to it, but even though it is hard, it's a total mashup of like everything, but it's so brilliantly done in my opinion, and the payoff in the end is just awesome and hilarious at the same time.
All right, it's on the short list. Okay, let's get down to business here. Christian, you're gonna have your moment in the sun. I know. Yes, you can. Got to talk now. Well, first, listen. If Tab wasn't here, I would have let you go off. But being that we had a guest, I wanted to get the introductions in.
You didn't want to introduce me? If Tab wasn't here, you wouldn't have introduced me. You would have just let him continue to talk.
Absolutely.
For a few minutes. Yeah, just for a few minutes, though, B. But I didn't want, Tab's a guest. It's different. You know what I'm saying?
I'm muting my mic.
You've got Cinema Attack now. You could talk all you like on that show. Have you heard of that, Tab? No, I don't blame you. It's
You motherfucker.
yeah. No, check it out. Check it out.
Keep cracking wise.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. While I will gloat, I'll gloat a little bit. So we had this big discussion when we were guesting on the 22 Shot Show, and we were doing the best of 86, and we talked, of course, a lot about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and I said, now I'm not saying I thought Bill Moseley had a plate in his head. I said I read something that Tom Savini said that guy had a real plate in his head, that it wasn't a makeup effect. And these guys went off on me, as you know, I would have too, had I not seen it. So I'm like, I'm going to find this piece. I've got to find it. I think it was in Grand Illusions. And I just said Grand Illusions, Tom Savini's book, but I realized he didn't talk about Texas Chainsaw 2 in that book. He talked about it in Grand Illusions 2. So then we looked through Grand Illusions 2 and it wasn't there. And then I'm like, I got to search this. So I went through old Fangorias and I found it. I think it was in issue 55 or 56 where they're talking about Texas Chainsaw. And I posted it to the Facebook page, the segment that it was there. And it said, yeah, we hired a guy that looked like the hitchhiker from part 1, and he's going to be the dummy for the guy, and he's also going to play the brother who comes back from Vietnam and has a plate in his head. And the great thing is he has a real plate in his head. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And I'm like, yeah, vindicated.
And nobody responded because nobody really cared at that point. Because the funniest part was you was trying to convince everyone that it was Grand Illusion, and Bill had to point out that Grand Illusion was written before Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 was made.
And I'll tell you what, it's funny. I listened to Test Pattern, and they did, the first show I listened to on Test Pattern was that the Savini thing. They did a something like what we did, where they talked about Savini movies. And they were on there, and Tab had brought up on that very show, and it was like the day after that 86 thing. So she had brought up that she owned the book Grand Illusions. So that was it. I contacted her on Twitter, and I said, hey, I listened to this show. I go, can you find this Grand Illusions book? Because, and I explained the situation, and then she's like, yeah, I have the book. Or what did you say you have it, but you just haven't seen it in a while or something, or, it's around, right?
I think I said it, but I was at work when you tweeted me, so I was going to have to wait until I got home. But then I think by the time I got home or something later that day, you said it was Grand Illusions 2, which I don't have, unfortunately.
No, but it didn't matter, because I imagine that. If you would have been looking, you're like, what the hell is this? I wish that would have happened, just to bust Christian's balls some more. I wish you would have found Grand Illusions and read it and said, there's nothing about it, so I could have come on here and busted his balls.
Hey, I was at home listening to my Guns N' Roses records.
Oh, he's cracking a Use Your Illusion joke again.
Yeah, I was listening to Use Your Illusions, anything with illusions in it.
He does a callback to a joke every episode now.
And you know what? That's why the ratings are so good for the show. They love it.
Maybe you should start that on Cinema Attack.
Hey, yes. That'll help it, right? Until one of us jump on, and then you get the automatic bump.
Charlene can't carry the whole damn thing.
Oh, she can't. Oh, man.
Brandon's very silent right now.
I'm saying shit. It's been a very tense week. I'm just happy that Cinema Attack is still a show. So, yeah.
Oh, now I feel bad. I'm over it.
No, we're having a good time. Seriously.
No, it's great. But yes, vindicated. Thank you for letting me bring that up.
Yeah, of course. Of course you're vindicated. Well, okay. B, want to talk about your thing now?
My thing.
Not your thing, but you want to talk about where you went yesterday?
Where did I go?
No,
I went to...
You chased Perusa out, so you may as well get something here.
Yes, Perusa Balk was supposed to be at Monster Mania 37. Unfortunately, she had to cancel because she found out that I was going.
So sad. I thought you were going to take a picture with her, send it to me, or say, hey, Dave.
I was going to do one better for you. I was going to do exactly what I did for my good friend Charlene, who happens to be the biggest PJ Souls fan. And I was going to get you a FaceTime with her.
What?
I went up to PJ Souls because her line was empty. I got there very early. And I said to her, listen, I have a friend who lives in France. Would it be okay if I came back in like a half hour, got you to sign a picture for her, and got her on FaceTime for you to talk to her? And she was so cool about it. And I did it. And not only that, when I came back, it was like 45, minutes to an hour later, she saw me in line. She saw me on the phone, and she actually started waving to me, which said to me like, oh shit, she actually like remembered like talking to me for 2 seconds.
Look at you.
Like, which was cool. I was like, that's nice. And then when I got up, she's like, is that her on the phone? She took the phone and she was talking to her. And it was a nice moment. Had a great time. Met a couple of other celebrities. Met Jeffrey Combs. Really nice guy. Met the Soska
nice.
sisters.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, got a nice hug from each sister. They charge $60 for an autograph, 30 apiece. I wanted to ask them how much it would have been if they were conjoined, but I didn't have the nerve to. I did not have the nerve to.
You totally should have. You know.
Have they finished Rabid yet? Is Rabid coming out? Is it done in the can? They're doing the remake of Cronenberg's Rabid.
Are they?
Yeah.
I heard that a while
Yeah,
back.
I feel like a terrible horror fan because I would have brought it up had I remembered this.
That's why they charged you 30 apiece. Everybody else was free.
Yeah, everybody was $10 a piece. Free.
This guy's 30.
Free hugs. You know?
And then I met Ethan Embry, and
That's awesome.
obviously
Awesome.
I was blowing the devil's candy to him. I know, Christian, you saw Fashionista recently and said he was the best part of that film, and he was the coolest guy. I got him to sign a couple of posters, one which is going to be part of a nice giveaway package towards the year-end show,
Nice.
and got him to actually sign it to a Headite.
Really?
Nice.
Yep. Told him about Exploding Heads. He thought it was awesome, and he said to me, because I was telling him, he's like, oh, what's the name of your show? I'm like, Exploding Heads. He's like, oh man, I would love to come on, do a phone interview with you guys and talk about the film a little bit. I was like, that's awesome, man. He's like, yeah, just hit me up on my Twitter. I'm like,
Wow.
really, really sweet guy.
Wow. We can't fit him in, but that's great. Like, I mean-
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's awesome. Holy
Sorry.
shit.
And our schedule is too tight, but
We got to crack really bad jokes. Like, there's just no room.
yeah, no, it was a terrific time. I've had nothing but positive experiences in the 3 conventions now that I've been to. I just wish I'd started going sooner because they really are a great time. A lot of cool people.
Wow. Did you see Steve Dash?
I did go into the they played Jason room because they had Derek Mears, Tom Moran, and Stephen Dash, and Stephen Dash was not there.
Oh.
What?
He was not there.
And really, they
Wow,
could put
you
a
missed
sack on
out.
anybody. There's Steve Dash.
There were a couple of Sackhead Jasons walking around because he was doing photo ops in Sackhead. But I'm like, this guy ain't Steve Dash. This guy's like 5'3".
Oh, it's Warrington Gillette.
Right.
Wait.
It's Warrington Gillette, probably.
Wait. Okay, so
Right.
I thought about something.
Yeah.
Which one did he play?
Warrington Gillette was the guy that was taking credit for being Jason 2 for all the years because he did. Supposedly he came on,
Crash.
did the crash through the window, and pretty much got fired off the set, as the story goes.
Oh, okay.
And because he wasn't really a stunt guy, he said he could do stunts, and then that was it. So they had like people walking around being the feet of Jason, this, that, and the other thing. And Steve Dash was the one that did it the most.
Feet of Jason? Can you imagine Tab being known as, that's your big credit in life, is the feet of Jason? And you could actually make money at conventions by being known as the feet of Jason.
Oh yeah, I've been to a couple conventions and there's some suspect people out there signing autographs.
Have you ever been excited? Like, oh my God, there's the feet of Jason. No, so what I wanted to say is I had a theory because I was looking at Tom Moran and immediately I started thinking of the awful, awful Jason Lives and Bitch Tits Jason.
Oh boy.
And
Here
I
you go.
immediately
Dan
came
Brown.
up with a theory. I immediately came up with a theory as to why he's so heavy in that film. It's because in part 5, while Roy is disguised as Jason going out killing everyone, the real Jason is hiding out in Joey's room eating all his leftover chocolate bars.
Man, you really thought of this.
No, I'm convinced that's what happened. Nobody ever checked Joey's room after he got killed.
No, they didn't. I'll give you that. They didn't check his room. Oh, man.
That's not it, but that was my experience. And of course, we recorded our 3rd episode of Cinema Attack. Sorry, I'm taking so long, guys. And it was our Korean special. We had a great time. Man, Korean cinema, I've always loved it. I haven't seen as much as I'd like to, but we reviewed 3 films, 3 terrific films, and when the show drops, listen to it, support us. Charlene and Derek are putting in hard work. I'm putting in hard work.
Yeah, all joking aside, I've
we're
enjoyed the first
having,
2 shows.
Thank you. We're having a good time. And just a quick rest in peace to my boy Elvis, my puppy who passed away this morning. Not puppy, he was a full-grown dog.
Oh my God! I thought you were joking when you wrote that on the text.
I didn't think choke. I thought lost as in ran away. I didn't really.
No. I'm
That's
crude.
happy.
I make crude jokes. Yeah, like he gored himself. Technically, my neighbor's dog who lives across the street, but I've been helping take care of him for like the last 12 years. Like, so he's my dog too. So I went over this morning, played with him a little. People were over giving him cheeseburgers and feeding him all junk food, and then we said goodbye. It was a sad moment, but he was a great dog, and I loved him. And shout out to Tony, who's his real daddy, who's a listener and supporter of the show.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
It's still a very sad story.
Yeah, the text that he sent said he's getting a root canal, and I lost my dog this morning.
Yeah.
So
I need
when
a
he
root
says
canal.
it, when you said it so matter of factly, I didn't think lost is in that type of lost. I just thought not figuratively. You know what I'm saying? You literally lost the dog that he. You know.
No,
what I mean?
yeah.
So I didn't think of
it's
that.
not beyond me to make a joke like that, because whenever somebody
It wasn't a joke. People say I lost somebody when they pass.
I know, because my dad will say that a lot when people ask about my mom. They'll be like, where's your mom? And my dad will be like, oh, we lost her 5 years ago. And my immediate response to it, because we have a sick sense of humor in my family, and she did too, is don't worry, we're still looking for her. That's the first, and nobody ever laughs. Yet she would be laughing her ass off if she was here.
No, that's what's important. That's how
I
you guys.
respect that.
Yeah.
So
No, I brushed right over it because we were just about to come on. I think it was like 20 minutes before recording time. I didn't think anything of it, but that's sad. I'm a dog lover. Unlike Dave, I don't like seeing dogs die.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Don't give me a bad rap, because I had a moment the other day. Okay. And I only like seeing dogs die sometimes, not all the time.
In the movies.
This is fiction.
In the movies.
This isn't real life. I don't want to see a dog die, but sometimes in movies, I enjoy seeing innocents die. And if innocents happen to be the family pet, I don't make a big deal about it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when it's done a certain way, I do enjoy it. But like in The Witch, I didn't like it. It was sad. Sometimes I do.
The right way.
Hey, Leroy, you want to walk this damn dog?
Listen, I saw a movie the other day, and a guy stomped a dog. It was freaking, what do you call it? And it happened so fast, and the way it was handled, I was just like, what the hell movie? Oh, Simon
American
Says.
Psycho? Oh.
But
No.
you're thinking of Hounds of Love.
No, and see, Hounds of Love, I was disgusted by it. It just depends on the context of it. But anyway, I don't want people to think
Toxic Avenger, though, was hilarious.
Who?
Toxic
What about
Avenger. Leroy, when he just
Oh,
slid across
Toxic Avenger, yeah, that is kind of funny. Right, exactly.
Wow, so we're really into the Dr. Phil segment of our show. Tab, this is actually a perfect segue because, and I'm sorry, Dave, that I'm doing this, but when I was, because I've listened to The Girls in the Back Row, and I just recently started Test Pattern. I started with episode 0, though. I have to start at the beginning. But I read on your profile on Girls in the Back Row that you're a cat owner. Is that?
I am, and I had a similar experience. I was never a cat person, and my husband found a cat that he really loved and wanted to keep, and I was just like, okay. But I didn't think I would ever like cats, and then I turned into a cat person against my will. So.
And you have 3 cats?
We do, yeah.
We found a few.
Well, yeah, we kept getting rescues. We had one that only had one eye. We have one that has 3 legs.
Ooh, really?
Aww.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can handle that.
All right, so you're short on appendages. Yeah, this is like, what's the movie?
I don't want to know.
Box
Does
and
it have
Helena?
deformities?
Not Bach. What's the movie that we reviewed? The Sentinel.
Oh.
It's like a Sentinel all over.
Oh,
Yeah.
stop. Don't get
Added
me started.
appendages, missing appendages. What are the cats' names?
We have Darby, Sullivan, and Zed.
Zed!
I told you,
Zed.
Dave. I told you.
Nice.
Everybody,
Wow.
that's perfect.
Wow.
She's got a
Is he
Canadian
Canadian?
Z.
Yeah. Is it a Canadian cat? Is that why it's Zed?
Zed.
It's not. I actually named it after a line of dialogue in Shaun of the Dead when they say, we don't say that word, the Zed word.
Wow, how did I forget they said that line in that movie? Wow.
Because it's the Queen's English. Unlike the butchered English you fucks. I'm just kidding.
There we go.
I love America.
This guy.
You're doing everything right down there.
Oh, yeah.
There we are. But we're doing so right. Yeah. Listen, see, I'm with you. I love Canada. At least Canada, you don't have the drama you got here. I'm with you. Believe me.
Oh.
Zed. Okay.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's totally cool. Brandon, the whole Steve Dash thing, I'm disappointed because, man.
Yeah, I'm really sorry because I went in there specifically. I was hoping he'd be sitting there. I wanted to get you something, but my guess is he was probably doing the photo ops somewhere.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. What are you gonna do?
We're gonna all have to get together and do a Monster Mania one year. They really put together a terrific show. Like, this lineup was stacked. I got there a half hour before they were opening for the pre-sale tickets. Like, you could pay a few extra bucks to get in an hour early, and I had to pay, for parking in a separate lot because that's how jammed it was.
Yeah.
It was insane, but it was, I was only there for like 2.5, 3 hours because there were terrible storms coming, and I still got stuck driving in them. So I wanted to get down there. I had ordered a bunch of stuff from a guy who makes posters. He's got a Facebook shop and an eBay store. Look up Scott's Variety Shop if you ever get a chance. He makes these great 11x17 posters. They're almost like giant movie trading cards, and I just have him make me those. And I get those signed at the conventions rather than getting the 27x40s.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah, and they come in a plastic sleeve, so they, you could just like basically get like a double-sided tape and stick them to the wall, and they look really nice, and they're awesome. They're fantastic.
Nice.
We got that Frightmare in the Fall coming. Frightmare in the Falls coming in November. That's the one that
Who's
Dave
there?
we got to go to.
Who's
Savini,
there?
Kane Hodder, the two Leatherfaces.
I can't come. Tab can't come.
You all could come.
We're not invited.
Everybody can come, but we're the closest.
Yeah.
I'm
closest in
a
proximity.
convention guy now. I love it.
Okay, well, you make the 5.5 hour, 6 hour drive, and you're more than welcome to come.
Oh, I'm sick that day. My throat is sore that day.
I got a root canal.
I'm getting the root canal that day. My next dog died that day.
I have to mention something because I was talking about Puppet Master. And I watched the first 4 for the first time in forever. Well, I never mentioned him on the show, but he actually sat down with us when we did Banana Laser. He's a friend of ours, and he's a listener, and his name is Sean Gabarine, and he does these Puppet Master comics. So I wanted people to know. They may be the only ones, but they're really good, and I've seen these comics before, and he just sent me some new ones. He's on pardon me. I'm not even sure. He's written Puppet Master comics. He's done volume 1, 2, 3. How many is it? 4, 5. He's done a lot, and I just wanted to put it out there. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know.
You sure you don't want to continue counting?
It comes after 5.
Give us
a lot.
Well, I got to 5, and then I have
That's
another
6.
one. Halloween one shots.
Listen, 6 next, or is it a lot? It's definitely a lot.
I'm just. I forgot to write it down in my notes, but when you said you were talking about posters, I go, oh yeah, that's right, Sean, Puppet Master, I got to put this out there. So, but I was talking to him the other day, and he said, it's funny because we were talking about it, and he said that, funny note, you guys were riffing on Tunneler as a sex toy. And he said that's something I did in the first Halloween special, so that was pretty funny to hear. So he thought of it before, we had that whole conversation. But he does really cool stuff. I read the whole first comic, and it's done with love to the series. And he ties up a lot of continuity with the series, and if there's any loose ends, he addresses them in the comic series. And it's really, really good stuff. So I just wanted to put it out there. And they're Puppet Master comics. I wish I knew the official title, but Offerings is one of them, Rebirth, but I think he does the only ones. So I just wanted to put.
Or is he with Charles Brand and is it like official? Like
No,
the official comics, or are these independent?
You know what?
Official.
A fish hole?
What are we talking about? Trout here?
A hole for fishing? Ice fishing? What is
yeah.
it?
He literally said, "Is that a fish hole?" I swear, Tab, did you not hear him say, "Is that a fish hole"?
I assumed it was just the word official, but
Thank you, Tab.
She's being nice. She doesn't
Yeah,
realize
she
she can
is.
bust
Yeah.
your balls.
You're more than welcome to Tab. Yeah, they always do. I'm the innocent one on the show.
Yeah, you're innocent, all right. Okay. So anyway, maybe I'll come back with more information about that next show. I'm going to read some more on it, but I'm not 100% sure what's official. I know they got licensed to do it, otherwise you can't just do it. So, but we talked about it on that Banana Laser episode. I'm going to go back and listen to that episode, and I'm going to update the listeners. Show 46 about
Nice.
that, not 45 because that's the special show, and it's NFA.
What's his
that
name
show.
again?
Sean Gabarine.
Okay, cool.
And I guess that's it. For intros. I don't think we have anything else to cover. Patreon. We have to talk about that because we do have cool things to talk about here. Actually, we have 2 new patrons, and we still don't have a name for them, unfortunately. But
People like to haul aheads for whatever reason.
call aheads. HOH. Huh?
Fuck.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. But we have a new pledgee. We have Taylor Hyder. This just happened a few hours ago. So thank you, Taylor.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks, Taylor.
And yes.
You want to thank him,
And this
Tab?
is actually no. Tab doesn't have to thank him. Actually, here we have live in the studio. History may be made because we may get a request here. I don't know if it's going to happen. But Test Pattern pledged as well. So, yes. So
Well,
now,
Thank you, Test
Yes.
Pattern.
Yes, thank you.
thank you very
Thanks, T-
much. Yes.
Thanks, TP.
Yeah, TP. They can choose a triple R. So I don't know if she got together with Jacob, what's been said, what's going on. Can you challenge us to something live on the show is the question.
I think we're still working on that. We're still working
Okay.
on what we're going to do. But I will definitely let you know. We started a Patreon, and once we started making some money, we're like, we got to give back to other shows. So we picked a couple that we wanted to give back to.
Nice.
That's awesome. We
And-
appreciate it.
We
Thank
do.
you.
Thank
Yeah. And we got to check yours out and see how that thing works. And now, what do you guys do? Do you have what type of perks do you have?
We have it set up so that we do early episodes. So we'll release the episode a week early. We also do bonus stuff. So we do movie commentaries. We're going to start doing TV show commentaries as well. And I make a cross-stitch, a horror-themed cross-stitch for each person that subscribes.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Now, can people pick the commentary that they want?
We do polls, and then we also say if you have suggestions, we'll do that
Okay.
too. So
So what if it's like
Fantastic.
Family Feud?
yeah, it's majority rules.
So the Wilson
People-
family is going up to the
Yeah.
podium right now, and
I was gonna say people have offered us extra money in our Patreon if we offer a version of the show without Christian in it. But since he does the editing, he'll never take himself out.
yeah, it's difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Have you heard Brandon's solocast?
I haven't yet. I'll check it out.
If you don't listen close
Save
enough,
yourself.
you might miss it. It goes real fast.
You might pull your pledge.
Fair enough. I deserve that.
Nice. We're going to do a commentary. That's what we're going to do for Test Pattern. We're going to pick whatever level is a commentary because I want you two to watch Friday the 13th Part 2 again and give it another chance. That's all I have to say. I'm not going to put you on blast. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I just want you guys to give it another chance because I love it so much. Well, I think everybody here does. Well, not Tab, but I know the 3 exploding heads do. So
I got to listen to more episodes to find out what they're not so high on to really make my
I can't
pick.
I can't even remember what episode we mentioned that in because we haven't covered it.
No,
I
the
think we just
Savini
mentioned it
episode.
in passing. Oh, okay, the Savini episode, yeah.
Yes, and you guys kind of played it off as a random, like any old '80s slasher, and it's so much more. So
Okay.
maybe
I've
you'll
only
give
seen it once, so I definitely need to see it again.
It has
Thank
Steve
you.
Dash in it.
Oh man,
And Warrington Gillette.
yes.
So many
Yeah,
Jasons.
you gotta. Are you a big slasher fan? Are slashers your forte, or are you more? I know you're into supernatural stuff, right? Isn't that your thing?
I do like slashers. I started out with classic horror because my parents were pretty strict. I wasn't allowed to watch rated R movies till I was of age at 17. So I am very behind in gory horror, and so I'm catching up with slashers for sure. But I do like slashers.
Cool. All right then. Well, that's it. Friday 2. You gotta watch it in because it's so good. You like Halloween, right? Like Halloween, the original.
I do like Halloween. I think my favorite is probably Black Christmas, though. If we have to pick a favorite slasher.
I'm in love.
You're allowed to stay on the show for the rest of the show.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
you
you.
are.
Thank you.
Dave wants you off, but we want to keep you.
No, I love it.
Majority
I love
rules.
it. You guys love it. You guys love Black Christmas too, and I love you guys. So.
That's true. You've kept us this long, so.
There it is.
And I like Black Christmas.
I know you
don't-
do. I know you do. You really don't hate the movie for as much as you
No.
criticize it.
No, you're talking about the remake, right?
Oh, of course. Of course.
Oh yeah, Black Xmas we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's clearly the better one.
Oh yeah. Oh, Mamma Mia. Okay. All right. Listen. I think that's it. I don't think we have anything else. Oh well, I should give the information for Patreon. So if anybody else out there, because I've discovered something. I have an idea, guys. Everybody loves the 2020 shows. In case you haven't noticed, they get the most downloads. People love that concept. So what do you guys think we should do? You think we should add another tier to the Patreon where if somebody, pledges, they can pick one of our 20s for the 2020 show?
Yeah, why
You
not? Sure.
mean like do our whole list for us? Won't that be anticlimactic? No?
No, they choose our
wait,
list.
I get it. No, I think that's a great idea, Dave. You mentioned that to us, and no objections here.
So I'm putting it on this week then. So if you guys want us to do another 2020 and you want to pick our top 20s, whatever that we have to choose, I don't care what it is. It's only the Patreon. It can
The
be
lists
top
are the
20
best.
freaking-
We have the best time doing the
They're
list.
great.
They really are.
Fun shows.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna add that this week. And if anybody wants to choose a 20, please do. But let me just rifle these things off real quick. For Patreon, it's www.patreon.com/explodingheads. Boom. That's it. That's all I'm gonna do. So.
And
I just
Patreon giveaway for episode 44, our Proto show.
45.
Episode 45.
45,
44
yes.
right now.
Yeah, that's right. We're on 44.
And the winner is?
Yeah, okay. Congratulations, Derek. You won.
Yeah.
Now, all the patrons will be entered into a raffle for 45.
Boom. Nice. That's awesome.
You'll win yourself
Okay.
a couple of Proto Slashers. We'll go over the prizes with the winner.
Nice.
Oh,
cool. Gotta love
cool.
that, Brandon. All right.
Well, thanks again, Tess Pattern, and thanks again, everybody else.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come on the other side. Oh, I haven't said a damn thing about what we're doing tonight, have I? We've just been...
Coming on the other side.
Yeah.
I don't know what's
It's
going
gonna
on.
get really sticky up in here pretty soon.
Here we go.
You said
You
it.
said it.
This is true. I did. Yeah, well, you guys noticed by now. You guys know what we're doing. We're doing an old movie and a new movie and old school format. And tonight's movies are Don't Look Now and Red Christmas. So that's what we're doing tonight. And yeah, I didn't even have to say that. We've been bullshitting for an hour. And I think people know when they see the episode drop what the movies are going to be. But hey.
Or they're
I wanted
gone
to
by
be
now.
professional. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, other side of this bump, we're gonna talk about Don't Look Now. See you in a minute.
All right, welcome back.
Go for it. You got it.
I'm
Brandon
just
brought
kidding.
us back.
I got
Brandon
nothing to
brought us
say.
back. First time ever. But you don't have to say. All you had to say was all right. Welcome back. Our first movie review is a Patreon pick. This movie was chosen by Jason Luxton. So thank you for that. And this movie is Don't Look Now. Brandon, can you help me with that? That's the question.
Don't Look Now from 1973, directed by Nicholas Roeg. A married couple grieving the recent death of their young daughter are in Venice on an extended vacation/work project when they encounter two elderly sisters, one of whom is psychic and brings a warning from beyond. This stars Julie Christie and Donald Sutherland. And like I said, it's from 1973. It's a drama horror thriller. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. This was my first time. It's kind of funny because at the beginning of the year, I think we made little lists and we said movies that we always wanted to watch in the horror genre that we are due to watch and haven't. And this happened to be the only one on the list this was on my list, and it's the only one on that list that I've seen so far. But of course, I plan to do more. But I've never seen it, and I've wanted to for a long time. So, am I the only guy?
No, this was on my top favorite films when we did episode 1. When you asked me that, and I'll just come right out the bat and say, for me, this go around viewing it, I had a little issue with the pacing.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to say a big issue because I still enjoy the film. Obviously, I'd seen it a bunch of times before, but for me, I find myself zoning in and out at times.
I was the same way. This was a first-time watch. If I did say I watched it before, it's because I totally mistaken it for that Audrey Hepburn movie, Dave. I sent it to you earlier. Wait Until Dark. Why the hell? Maybe it's a 3-title movie. I don't know why I did that, but Wait Until Dark I've seen a few times, and I love that movie. And for whatever reason, that's what I thought this was. And so then I'm like, Donald Sutherland. Wait, what's going on here? And then I realized, okay, this is totally different. And so it was a first-time watch. And I will echo what Brandon said. Pacing is probably the worst part of this movie.
Yeah.
I had issues with the pacing. I say I don't mind a slow burn, but here's a movie that is a slow burn, and you feel it.
It gives you a great payoff, though, but it definitely is a slow burn, and the performances are terrific. The cinematography is terrific. Yeah. Tab, have you seen this one before?
I have seen this one. I saw this in high school, and I definitely didn't appreciate it as much as I should have. I agree that the pacing is very, very slow. I think you have to have a lot of patience with this film to be able to get through it. And I think that you're really hanging on to the cinematography and the acting in those really slow times.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'll tell you.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful looking film. This is quote unquote art, and I don't think I was expecting. I don't think I was expecting that. I think I was expecting a little bit more of just like a ghost story, because I didn't know what I was getting into going in, because I thought I was watching a different movie altogether, actually. And then
where the hell's Audrey Hepburn?
Well, no, then I obviously before
the big reveal
the
at
doll
the end
full of heroin.
Yeah. let me just before I put the movie on, I was aware that it was a different movie, but it was when I was researching it to watch it again, I'm like, oh, this is not what I expected.
So it's kind of like how I get Morgan Freeman and Morgan Fairchild mixed up all the time.
Yeah, identical to that. And
yeah,
the beginning. That's my fuck you. I'm
yeah, that's like fuck you. I'm not even acknowledging that awful, horrible joke.
No, and the beginning is haunting.
Oh yeah,
and the end is fucking bone chilling.
Yeah, that's what it's most known for, is having one of the most shocking, haunting endings of all time. I mean, that's what makes it a classic in my book.
Yeah, and that sex scene. Tab, what do you think?
That is a long sex scene.
Not enough armpit eating for my likings.
Yeah, what was that?
Well, you guys know the big thing with this is that for years it's been rumored that those sex scenes are real. Weren't they a couple? They were a couple at this time.
No, they had just met. That was the first day they met.
Oh,
was when they filmed
that
sex scene.
Even
that's
better.
awesome.
And I believe it was real then.
Awesome. I hope it's real now, knowing that. Yeah, that's great.
Right off the bat, I believe it. I don't care.
There's too many angles for it not to be real. Like
Yeah, so they're just gonna film it and let it go.
And I'll
guys
just
are
say
going
this:
at
Donald Sutherland has a great tush.
This is gonna come really horrible after what you just said, but he looks like my dad in this movie. Like
I thought the same thing. I was like, he looks.
No, you're used to him from behind. I'm talking about first. No.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He had a great tush.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought he looked like John Holmes. I thought he looked just like John Holmes.
My dad did too, but from the waist up, obviously. I mean, he had the white man fro, and my dad had that, and the mustache and everything. So as soon as that happens, you could put Jim Croce in there. You could put Donald Sutherland from this movie. It was my dad.
If Donald Sutherland had sung "Time in a Bottle" while having sex with Julie Chrisley, I would have immediately given this film a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, done and done.
Oh man.
Why is it the movie's slow, yet that scene was like, okay, I could use that a little bit more of this. And it's a long fucking sex scene.
Oh,
it is.
I was expecting them to go into doggy. I really was. I was like, they're doing everything in sight here. What's next? And I'm not complaining. She's
DP, DP,
Beautiful.
but
yeah, someone else is going to come in. Yeah, John Holmes himself is coming in. Yeah, any minute. Yeah.
The blind psychic comes in.
The blind psychic. Yeah. Listen, I had no problem with the pacing the first time.
Okay.
The first time. The second time, because I always do it twice. The second time when I went to watch it, I didn't, but I found myself wanting to fast forward a few times, just to get to like the key points of the film, and I remember the plot enough, of course, because it's my second view in a week. But I found myself saying, "Oh, this is an hour, and it's long too. It's like an hour and 50 or hour 47, whatever, So I was thinking, I think I want to fast forward a little bit, but I didn't. But the first time, I was cool with the pacing. So I don't know. But
yeah, I never had issues with the pacing in the past. It's just this time, all of a sudden, because it's been a couple of years since I've watched it, and I had the Criterion edition, so I finally was able to. Not finally able to. I finally did open up and watch that version. It looks beautiful. But I don't know. Maybe it was just my mood. I was tired, but it was just dragging a little bit. I was still interested. I mean, the opening scene alone is just great, with the great use of color, with the red, giving that impending sense of doom, and of course when he discovers his daughter, how he discovers her, and that groaning. Oh, my God!
The editing,
I was like,
the editing in that opening is great.
Yeah. I was like, is this Body Snatchers? He's like, I
don't understand. I'm going to have a complaint. Very, very few complaints. But both times I watched it, you're saying that the editing was so good. I'm confused as to what happened. Of course, I know the end result. It's a drowning. But 1 second she's there, and the next second you see her and she's falling backwards and she drowns. I didn't see anything leading up to it. Yeah, they were throwing a ball. They were doing a little bit. It seemed when the time came, I don't know why she got put in that position.
No, but that was what it was. The disjointed editing is why I liked it. It wasn't your standard editing style. So what was happening is they're doing a lot of, and it's funny because they
is what you're saying?
Yeah. And bare bone, yeah. If you want to just break it right down, it's like kind of an artsy take on it. Literally, he spilt the water. I think that was to show that she went into the water. Yeah. That's kind of like the way they were doing it there, and then that's why then you just see her sort of float under the water, and then the red, so the well, I won't say that. The red cloaked figure that's in the church in the little pitcher slide starts to actually bleed red into the pitcher. That's how they were doing the the intercutting between.
It stained the slide red.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
It was good. It's good if you know what the movie's referencing. But
yeah, it would have been better if we had done that RRR first, probably.
And Tab, honestly, if you don't know how we do things, we jump all over the place with the movie. So if you're used to like a linear dissection, we go all over the place.
Yeah,
so
we sometimes start with ratings.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy. I dig the the artistry of it, of course. I'm into that shit, but just all of a sudden she's falling back, and I don't see a reason. I don't see anything that led up to it. I just would have appreciated a quick cut of something, of the boy throwing her a ball and her trying to catch it and slipping. Something. You don't see why there was a drowning.
You saw the ball go into the little lake, so you would have assumed she tried to walk out to grab it and then maybe like realizes it's too deep.
Backwards into it?
Yeah, like turns around like, I got to get out of here. It's too deep. And then...
I think that was a visual, just for visuals.
Yeah, I don't know why I gave a visual example to the listeners, too. I was like...
It's the first time you've been in frame all night. Like...
This is how I do it. This is how I've been doing it for 43, 44 episodes, whatever number we're on. I'm always in the right side of the frame, so if I need to, I can go like this and just gather myself.
But the jokes are fresh for Tab. That's why.
Oh, shit.
I think that falling back into the water is supposed to reference a pre-Raphael painting by Sir John Everett Millais called Ophelia, where it's Ophelia from Hamlet, and her face is out of the water and her hands are sort of up facing the water. That's what it reminded me of. So I think it's supposed to reference that painting.
We are not that intelligent here.
We'll call you Mrs. Watson from now on.
Yeah, we don't we don't get that deep.
That was awesome.
Actually awesome. Yeah.
Hey,
I'm
Tab
done.
comes prepared. She's
I'm
always doing
I'm gonna
this on
sit
her
out the
show.
rest of this review. I have nothing left intelligent to say.
Hey, the plan worked. The plan worked.
I just really thought it was supposed to give us the same sense of deja vu that Donald Sutherland's character John has throughout the movie. He keeps having these deja vu senses, and we're supposed to have that too because of the cutting. But we're also that is also a cultural reference, so it may be a subconscious feeling of deja vu. So if you're familiar with that painting, you might feel that sense of deja vu seeing that image.
Wow, that's
Isn't it also
fantastic.
weird that he doesn't believe in all this stuff, yet he seems to have these premonitions and this psychic, almost like a psychic ability himself? That whole beginning kind of alludes to it because he just senses that something's wrong and he darts out of the house to then find out that she has, in fact, drowned.
I thought that was
Yeah.
really interesting too. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish
I
they
think
had
he's
questioned
afraid
that
of it.
more. I wish they had questioned that more. Because, I mean, what's the Julie Christie's... Laura's character mentions that it was weird that he just knew, he sensed it when she's telling the sisters, Heather and Wendy, about...
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because...
Of the end of the film.
Oh, it makes
Obviously.
sense throughout. Heather references early that he has the gift of second sight, but won't acknowledge it.
Well, you know why? It's because what the one woman said, that it's a gift and a curse. And I think that he fears it. That's what I think. I think he doesn't want to admit that he might have that ability because I think he fears it because it's just so much of a curse as it's a gift. You know? It's
Yeah,
almost
maybe
like
so.
shiny.
I don't think he wants to have to face his daughter again because he probably feels tremendous guilt.
Yeah.
She even references at one point that it's, a chance she's trying to forgive us. The daughter, Christine.
Right. And this is based on a Daphne du Maurier novella of the same name. But in that story, Christine dies of meningitis. So I think adding the drowning really adds that sense of guilt to their grief that the short story doesn't have.
But when she fell back in the story, Dave, she fell back backwards too.
On to the previous
Let me set it
page.
straight.
This movie's also called a psychic thriller, or the tagline was a psychic thriller. The other tagline was "Past the Warning," which I thought was kind of
That's the
interesting.
warning is that fits really nice.
Pass the warning?
The whole movie is a warning.
Oh, no, I get that. I'm just not crazy about that pass the warning title. I don't know, whatever.
It's just
Listen, I love the artistry of the shot, and I don't want to keep talking about that damn shot. I was just confused as to how the drowning happened. That's all. But now Raphael, you said it was a Raphael painting?
Yeah, there's a movement called pre-Raphaelite paintings. I was pretty obsessed with it in high school, which is why I know that painting. But they're based in literature a lot of times, which is why Ophelia is part of that.
Okay.
you
I
had
was
me at
thinking
Raphael because he is my favorite Ninja Turtle by far.
Oh my God! I cracked a Raphael joke last week. He
Did
burns
you?
me.
No, you didn't, did you?
I did.
Yes.
I
yes,
did.
we did because Raphael
shit.
gave us an email.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
our
I
homie.
guess I shouldn't be breathing a sigh of relief.
Oh,
Get it? Because Raphael
oh,
uses
that was
okay. All right, I'm
worse
done.
than my
I'm done.
comic book.
I'm done.
Yeah. Thank God.
Anyway, I was thinking Raphael, and that's an even cooler tie-in because of Italy. You know what I'm saying? Because this takes place in Venice, and I was thinking, if it was a Raphael related thing. But
They never do
whatever.
tell you the time frame, eh? When it switches to Venice, do we have an idea of how long has passed?
I get a
Not
sense
long.
that it's not long, that it's maybe months.
Really? They don't seem. I feel like it feels longer than that.
I have the Criterion collection as well, and I kind of watched through the special features, and they were talking in interviews that it had been a couple years, but they never say that in the movie. So
Really?
That's what I would have thought too.
Wow.
So it's
You know what
interesting
it
that
is?
you guys
They
thought
never
of it.
show the son. You only see the other kids running outside, so you can't assume
Right.
that he's older or not. But the kids running outside were older, so it could have been a couple of years. It would make more sense for it to be a couple of years because they're so. I don't want to say they're over it, but they seem so casual and a little less nonchalant about it, a little more nonchalant about it.
More nonchalant.
the
Well,
way
then,
they're carrying on in the diner in the beginning when they sit with the ladies, not the diner, the restaurant, I should say.
Yeah.
I remember watching it and thinking, boy, they're I don't want to say cheerful, but they're awfully. I can't even think of the term I want to use, but it doesn't seem like it's that they lost their daughter because they seem like they're
they
their
moved
spirits are
on pretty
higher.
quickly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, for whatever reason, I thought it was just a few months or less than a year later, but apparently not. But it's weird that we all just thought that without knowing that it was a short time, you know? I don't know why, but...
I felt like it was longer. Just the way
Did
that
you?
they were going.
Okay.
That's why I asked if they specified it in the movie, because I didn't remember.
You know what? You know why I felt it was shorter? Was because he was working on looking
The
at the
same
slides
thing.
of the church at the beginning, and then all of
That's
a
it.
sudden he's in Venice to do the restoration. So, I'm just assuming it's all connected. It's the same thing.
And if
Right, that makes sense.
yeah, and on
But
that
it could
too,
have been a different church he was working on later on.
but depending on how you interpret the ending and what he sees in the slide at the beginning, would also be indicative of a short period of time, I think, as well, because they're saying that there's a serial killer.
That's true. That's
going-
a backdrop for the whole movie, which is
Yeah.
a pretty
Yeah.
tight period of time.
So that then, in which case, then you guys are right, and then I just contradicted myself. But that's fine. I do that all the time. For a first time
it
watch,
was the novella that said years.
No, it was
No.
the director and the
Oh, the director and the commentaries. Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. All right. Does it specify in the novella?
No, because they don't talk about there's not a scene of the daughter dying. They just talk about it. It's
Okay.
much later, and they reference it when they're already in Venice.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially if she died from meningitis. What are they going to
Yeah.
show you? You know, a
Right,
hospital
exactly.
bed. And, you know, who wants to see that? Right. So that does make sense.
what about the shots when they're in Venice? Like, it's not traditional that you normally see Venice portrayed the way that it's portrayed in this movie, by any means.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting as well. Again, whether this is where the horrific elements come into play, because we are dealing with that leisurely paced. I know, Dave, you didn't think so much that it was leisurely paced.
Oh, no.
I thought so. But I'm saying, based on that, there's a lot of like emptiness, a lot of dark alleys and whatnot. And that part I thought was really kind of creepy as well. Not just the end part when they're walking and that chase happens and it's building to that really intense moment, but just throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Like even going up into those, I think it was the hotel area where the Italian guys are coming out and they're like asking him what he's doing, and he just kind of excuses himself,
That's
and then he kind of dashes out. And then I started playing games because, again, like Brandon, I was kind of feeling like I was coming in and out of paying attention to the movie. This movie deserves your attention, and I found like I was drifting, and maybe my mind was wandering and trying to piece together what I thought the movie was going to be, and it was nothing like what I thought it was going to be. Like, I even questioned that maybe he was killing people at one point. Like, I thought it was going to be very traditional, almost like that, and it's nothing like that at all. It's actually, I don't want to say straightforward, but more straightforward than I think I was expecting it to be.
I think that's a good way of putting it, because if you pay attention, the answers are given to you and they're right in front of you. They're really not trying to hide it from you. It's maybe a little subtle, but if you're listening to the dialogue and paying attention to the images you're seeing, it makes total sense in the end.
Yeah, definitely. I think that Rogue is doing a lot of subconscious work, trying to unsettle the audience without trying to make that part obvious. I think the idea of having characters speak in Italian without translating it is very disorienting for the audience, because we only get translations periodically.
Yeah.
And the intercuts, obviously, I think that, and the intercuts are the most obvious of that. But even just showing the image reversed as a reflection in the water is very disorienting. And like you said, he purposely chose to shoot places in Venice that aren't normally depicted in like travelogues. It's not touristy areas, so it feels very odd because everything's so empty and you're not seeing the normal landmarks that you would see when you think of Venice.
That other scene that really stuck out to me was the scene when he is climbing up on the scaffolding to put the piece. Oh, they're restoring the church. That's what they're doing. Right?
Yeah.
And so he's putting the mosaic back together, and that all comes down. All I read about that is that he almost died doing a stunt in a movie. I'm assuming that was the scene, because at one point it looks like a stuntman, but I guess it was him for the most part.
Yeah, the stuntman refused to do it because he didn't feel like it was safe enough. And so they got Donald Sutherland to do it. And he actually has a really strong fear of heights, and he did it anyway. And then later he found out that the cable wasn't secure.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty terrifying scene.
Yeah.
I felt uneasy watching that. It felt genuine.
Wow, it probably was genuine. He's
Yeah,
not a
that's
stunt
what
man, he's
that's
afraid
what
of heights.
that's well, no, that's what I'm saying. Given that, that's why I'm saying it. Because even without that knowledge, it felt
Right.
genuine to me. So, given that knowledge, it makes total sense.
What balls on him, Sutherland, man. I mean, I've always liked him, but freaking, I got to give him extra props knowing that the stunt man's not going to do it. It's his job. He doesn't want to do it, but I'll do it instead. I'm just an actor. That's freaking.
Yeah, today they won't let you do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
he actually did the same thing in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's that part where he runs along the top of the warehouse, and he actually did that part as well.
Wow.
So he was the first actor to do his own stunts. Now
He was the
I don't
Tom
know about
Cruise.
that.
He was the Tom Cruise of the 70s.
There you go.
Wow. He's a stud, though. I respect the hell out of it.
Look, he was banging Julie Christie on film for an hour and 50 minutes.
On the first day they met. Yes.
On day one of shooting. All right, action.
what was the conversation like? How are you? Well, great. What are you doing tonight after the shoot? It's just so. That's one thing about acting. It'd be like, oh, instantly what goes through your head is that would be great. I think that would be the most awkward experience I can think of. Like showing up, having to be naked in front of a bunch of people all day, and then pretending to have sex.
Well, if
I
you were
wouldn't be able to
naked
hide
people, most people would just laugh and it would lighten the mood very quickly.
Yeah, beyond that, I mean, minute 2.
Well, it is the 70s. I think I could do it. They're there. They're probably freaking smoking and doing whatever else, and it's a different time period. Maybe they're on the set and they're buzzed up a little bit. He's like, "Hey, come here," I don't know.
And it's funny that what Tab mentioned. I didn't really notice it the first few times I saw it, but this time I was so aware of it that the lack of translation of all the Italian. At one point, I'm like, "Do I have the subtitles on? Do I need the subtitles on?" I wasn't even sure I was. I'm like, did I put this on in Italian? It was disorienting. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I know what's going on, but I have to rely on what I'm seeing versus what I'm hearing.
Right. You feel like you're missing part of the story. Or
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit, I watch subtitles for everything nowadays, so I'm used to seeing them in English-speaking movies. When you see them
did
talking.
you like the sisters, Dave?
Did I like the sisters? They were cool. I'll tell you what. Let me ask you about the sisters. Here's one thing I don't understand. And I noticed it the first time. I thought, well, maybe it didn't mean anything. And then the second time, it really stuck out because it didn't make sense. It looked like they were trying to set the sisters up. And granted, I might be missing something completely here, and you guys are going to laugh at me, but what are you going to do? But it looked like they were setting something up where the sisters were actually evil. Because they show this one scene after they have the conversation, and the two of them are there laughing. And I'm watching this and, they're setting them up. Something's up here. And it turns out, now to my knowledge, maybe you guys are going to laugh at me again, but they're all going to laugh at you. But the sisters were not evil. They were just trying to help. They said, get the hell out of here. Leave the town. Go. We told you to go. Get out. You guys have to leave. And they didn't. Am I missing something here? Were the sisters evil?
No.
So that scene makes no sense. Right?
No, it makes perfect sense. I think they're just trying to, like we've been saying, disorient you with your perception of what you're seeing, when in fact you're not seeing anything diabolical in certain scenes, and then it ultimately plays out pretty much like Christian said and Tab said, straightforward, like almost like I'm gonna keep saying.
Why show that scene? Why show them laughing? And it's a kind of a cheap trick, don't you think? You're looking at these characters thinking that they have ulterior motives. And then it goes nowhere.
We don't know what they're laughing at. We're seeing it from the perspective of John or Laura at this point.
We're not seeing it any perspective. Nobody else is in the room but them two, and it's us as the viewer seeing these two laugh. And the way they're laughing, to me, seems like it's a very mischievous laugh. I don't know. Maybe the way I looked at it.
Okay, I was thinking the wrong scene, I guess.
I think you're right. I think it's a manipulative cut to create a red herring effect. Because then that's right before he sees them on the boat, right?
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah. Is it right after the girl leaves? Is it the first time when the wife comes and they give her the shot and they talk to her and then she leaves? Isn't it right after that? Okay, see? It doesn't make sense.
That scene for me, I immediately thought of the scene in Mulholland Drive where the two elderly people are in the back of the limo laughing. And I swear David Lynch stole that right from this movie.
I honestly think you're right, and that because
Oh.
that's how it plays out. And I think it was just supposed to be kind of unsettling, like you're like a what the fuck moment in the movie. And I think you're right, Tab. I think David Lynch totally lifted from the movie, and it worked in both films.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't seen Mulholland Drive, but I plan to. But you guys are okay with that? It just seems odd. I can't recall seeing a movie where they set something up, and at the end of the film, that scene just didn't. It was, I don't know. I don't want to say it's a cheat. It was just very misleading. I get the red herring thing. It's just, I don't know. It just seems like it was kind of a cheat to me. But
I don't know why. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on this laugh for some reason.
It was like this.
Yeah, it was,
I'm just kidding.
Maybe,
yeah. They're holding a picture. They're holding one of the pictures that they on the dresser and laughing. And it is interjected in a really odd place, but I think it is just supposed to be a red herring. Yeah, I can see what you're coming from with that, because it is, I think, a manipulative cut. And I think because it's such an artistic film, that's why he gets away with it. I think if you had a more straightforward film, it would seem very odd.
That's true. And then they do bring those pictures back, and that which I don't think these things really make sense, and I don't care because of the type of film it is. But at the end, when everything goes on, and you say, I'm not going to give it away because there's no reason, you don't have to. But when we see what happens at the end, we see these flash cuts of certain things, and trying to make, when the guy, the detective has those two pictures, and he says, we're trying to make the dead look alive, and they flash to that, and then they flash to the photograph that he has of his wife, and then they flash to pictures on the mantle, I believe, of the witches, not the witches. See, I want to call them the witches because of that damn scene.
The psychic.
of the two women, and they do all this stuff at once. And the second time I watched it, I was looking to see if that stuff made sense, and from where I sit, none of it mattered, and none of it did. I'm not complaining about it. I just, I'm used to seeing movies where you have that moment at the end and you see all the stuff and it ties in, where in this film it didn't. And I'm not knocking it. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's the time period or something. It's just a little unusual, I thought. But that's my only gripe, honestly.
Did you guys notice the one or two actors that were from A Bay of Blood?
No.
Yeah. It's just because we just reviewed that not too long ago on episode 40. Check it out. I thought it was the guy that played the neighbor, the crazy neighbor that was married to the wife there, the next door neighbors. But as I was looking at IMDb, as you were talking there, Dave, about the laughing scene, it looks like it was the guy that played Simon, the fisherman guy with the octopus.
Octopus guy?
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So, but I swear the other guy's in it as well, but I can't, in my quick little search here, I just noticed it when we were watching it.
Yeah, that is cool. So,
Man, I'm frustrated I didn't watch this twice now because I really want to.
I actually say I owe this movie another watch. It's not fair to the movie, in my opinion, based on the review, not the review, but the rating that I'm going to give. I don't think it's fair to the movie. Because I know that this is a work of art, and I wasn't expecting that, and I should watch it again.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I just
0
want
out
to
of
pay
10.
attention. I just want to pay attention. I just want to pay attention to the sisters again because, while they seemed menacing at times, it was just because you're unsure of what to believe. Like they were almost set up as a red herring from the very beginning. I felt so. I'm trying to think of the seance scene in particular. I don't even think so much red herrings as if like maybe one of them is running around killing. I mean, they're not short enough. You obviously see it's like a childlike image running around the streets, and then of course this killing's going on. So you wouldn't think it'd be old ladies doing the killing. Not that the two would be connected. I don't know. I lost my train of thought totally.
No, I think you're right. I think they are set up as a red herring from the very beginning. They're even just from the moment that they're staring at the couple, or
Yes.
the one woman is staring at the couple. It's very unsettling, and I think John is so much more suspicious of them because he's the one that sees them staring.
Is that why he opens the window and like causes like the wind to like? Does he do something that causes the wind to blow something in her eye?
yeah, I don't think it was intentional, though, right?
No,
Yeah.
I
That
thought
seems
it,
weird.
like it was
Yeah.
because he said excuse me for a second, then he goes. He like the door was open. He opened the window, almost like creating. I don't know how he did it. Almost like creating some sort of like wind that blew something in her eye. Because then he smiles when she says, "I got something in my eye."
I thought he closed the window because it opened up on its own. And he went up there and he closed the window.
Oh, so maybe when he closed it, it caused the wind.
Yeah, it's probably like a vacuum effect where
Yeah.
the pressure forced the door open.
but he smiled at the minute it hit her in the eye, almost like he knew it was going to happen or something.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
he did that intentionally. He's going to really plan that out. Well, if I open this, maybe a piece of debris might fall under her eye.
Don't forget, he's got the gift, supposedly.
Ah,
That's true.
interesting. And you notice how he calls it mumbo jumbo, and they do too. And I find that funny. They don't want to mess around with any mumbo jumbo, and he says the same thing. And I think that's how he feels. He doesn't want any part of it.
My favorite line of the movie is "Puss, puss, 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 puss." Puss, 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 puss.
Oh shit!
But if he was so psychic, wouldn't he have known that scaffolding was dangerous, and he was going to fall off it?
I don't necessarily think the
Doesn't
second
work that
sight
way.
works like. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't.
That's what all psychics say. Oh, it doesn't work.
But they never
that
hit the
way.
lottery.
Yeah.
Right.
He'd also know the identity of the killer as well.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
to the film's credit, I was watching it late at night by myself, and when there's a little turnaround part at the end. And when people say this, I'm like, what the fuck? My blood went cold. Like I was just sitting there going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's such an effective scene, and it sums up 70s horror to me a little bit. Like The Sentinel kind of had that same kind of feel. There's these moments that you're just like, oh, they're just like, and no modern movie has really done it. I've gotten scared, and I think there's some fantastic moments, but there's just something about that reveal and the look on the face and everything else. It's
a shock to the system.
Yeah, it really is.
It drains the life out of you.
Yeah.
You go white almost. I remember the first time I saw it. I felt like I lost years of my life.
We're hyperboling it. We're hyperboling it because look at Dave's face. He's like, "Come on!"
I'm glad you said. I'm glad you said
No,
that because I'm glad you said hyperboling it because I just have to bring this up. I'm going off on a tangent here, but here in the States, at least for me, growing up in school, we always called it hyperbole. But hyperbole is not wrong because I've heard other people say hyperbole. I just want to know: am I wrong? Or are we both right?
Nobody's right nor wrong, right? You're the smart.
I've never heard. What did you call it?
We called it hyperbole.
Hyperbole. You never heard it called that before?
I've heard it called that way.
But I've heard other people, intelligent people on talk shows and stuff say hyperbole. Yeah, I'm not saying Christian's an intelligent individual. I'm just saying I've heard other intelligent.
It's the first time I've ever heard that, to be honest.
But yeah, the reveal is draining and haunting, and I love the fact that it's almost it's haunting in the sense that finally when he's ready to embrace this gift, the first thing he does is misinterpret it.
Right. And I think you guys have a great point about modern horror. And if they redid this, there would be an audio stinger. And the great thing about 70s horror and older horror is that it doesn't need that. They don't feel like they need to amplify that up. The scare is enough.
And this movie provided like that moment alone. I'm like, wow. Like it was a wow moment, and it was a great way to end the movie because of my thoughts throughout it. At one point I was texting the guys as I was watching. I'm like, did they have a fucking son? And then the scene comes on saying where he calls from school and then they have an issue. And I'm like, oh my God. It was like, I guess it's almost like during the writing stage, you're like, at this point, the audience is going to question what happened to the son. We better write a scene in. This will get the wife away and whatnot.
5 years from now, some Canadian's going to go, where the fuck's the son? Right now, insert. No, it's a great final chase through the tunnels though.
But that all happened to me too. The thing with the son. That happened, and for a minute I started doubting myself. I was like, maybe that wasn't the son. Maybe it was just a neighbor kid, and he was playing with the girl. So, because it seemed like he was completely dismissed, and then that happened. Like, okay, so what is their son? And then the second time I watched it, I realized that he said "daddy, daddy." So obviously it's his father.
But they say right away that
didn't stick out.
They say right away when they're in Venice that Johnny's at school and this and that. Obviously, it happened back in England, so they're on vacation.
Yeah, but Johnny doesn't have to mean their son. Could have just been insignificant part of the conversation, that's how I read it. That was like,
oh, okay. I never doubted. I love
I get what you're saying. It just at the time I just wasn't 100% sold that they had a son. That's all, and I didn't till later. And the thing at the end, I could swear I've seen that in another movie before. The way the face looked and with a hood, in another more recent movie, and it's been driving me crazy. Since the first time I saw it, I didn't have the reaction you did, Christian. I looked at it and I was like, oh, where do I know that from?
You saw it from The Witch. That was Mercy. Clickety clackety, clickety clackety, clickety clackety, clickety clackety, clickety clackety.
No. It wasn't that. It was something very recent. Maybe not even very recent, but another movie. There's a person with their face looks like that, and they're wearing a hood, and it's a reveal, and it's driving. And I have not been able to figure it out since. So
that's a great point, though, that you made about the lack of the audio, because it's so much scarier the way it's presented here. It lingers for a few seconds. It takes you a minute to process, and it allows you that full minute to like really take it all in and be like, before what happens next happens. I'll be cryptic because I don't want to spoil the ending. Yeah. But I love the whole chase through the back alley, and the sound design. Just all you hear is just the footsteps.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And then the crying. You see the red cloak and the crying, and I'm like, oh my God.
And
even okay, I could see where you're going with that.
Yeah, it just popped into my head. Sorry.
What'd you say, Dave?
The Brood.
The Brood. Yeah,
good. And the way the face looks.
Yes.
David Cronenberg. I was going to say, but you said recently, so I'm like,
I know,
because I was going to say it's just like the reveals in David Cronenberg and whatever, and those are creepy too. Oh, that movie.
Look at Christian. His ears perked up the minute you mentioned the Cronenberg.
Cronenberg, right?
Canadiana.
like my dog when I say treat. Yeah, Cronenberg.
Is there Crohn's disease?
I always think of Alice, Sweet Alice when I watch this movie too, which is weird,
another good one too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's another good comparison.
But I think the combination of him saying wait, and then her shaking her head like that, I was just like, no, I'm not okay with this.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh my God. It felt so real. I think it really happened.
And Christian, you can cut this out, but I do have a funny story about watching the ending of this movie. Because I'll spoil it, but you guys can cut this out. I love Bravo Scariest Movie Moments. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. But it's Talking Heads. It's a bunch of people in horror talking about different movies, and they talk about Don't Look Now. And everybody's sort of pontificating about how artsy and wonderful this movie is. And then the last person they have interviewed is John Landis, and he says, that's it? It's a dwarf in a raincoat? So I just thought that was hilarious, because you have everybody else talking about how wonderful this movie is, and he was just like, what is this?
That's very John Landis.
It is, but that's the beauty of this film, is that it's so simplistic, because the killings and everything are taking place almost in the backdrop of the story that's being presented, because they're passing the crime scenes. You see them fishing the bodies out of the water. It's almost secondary. Like, yes, you're paying attention to it because they do at one point say a serial killer's loose, but it's not at the forefront of the story. Yet it obviously plays a major role in it, but not in the way that people think, because people are just so fixated on psychic abilities and the ghost of Christine.
Yeah, and that's a great thing about de Mornay's stories, because she also wrote what The Birds was based on, and then also Rebecca. And you see a lot of that sort of periphery storytelling going on in her stories, and that gets translated when it's made into movies, especially the Hitchcock movies that have been made of her stuff.
I love that.
And I can't believe that in the introduction, it was not just Army of Darkness. More fucking importantly, I have to put fucking in there for emphasis. You're a Hitchcock fan.
I'm a huge Hitchcock fan.
Yeah, as am I. Yeah.
Christian's just a huge cock fan.
Yeah. I'm a BBC fan. Sorry, it's just
forget the Hitch. He just loves the cock.
No, but I'm a huge Hitchcock fan, and that we'll have to talk about that more later.
Yeah, and I love Cronenberg as well. I've been trying to get my podcast host to watch The Brood, so it's funny that you bring up The Brood.
Nice.
Yeah, the funny thing is The Brood also has a nice Criterion release. Very similar.
Beautiful.
It looks like the Don't Look Now one. I actually have them like together. I sometimes grab the wrong one.
Yeah, that's a
great
beautiful
story.
Criterion.
Wait Until Dark?
Yeah, it is.
You ever grab Wait Until Dark when you're going to get Don't Look Now? I don't know why I confused the two, but I always have.
Makes sense.
But anyway.
Wait Until Dark is a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
Tab, I know you don't usually do ratings on your shows, but you know we do 1 to 10 here, so the pressure's on. Ladies first.
I'll give this an 8 out of 10. I think the pacing does hurt it for a mainstream audience, but the artistic value and the acting is wonderful.
Nice.
I'll go next just because I already said I owe the movie another watch. I'm coming in at 7.5. Love the beginning, love the ending, and I love the acting and the cinematography. That pacing was dreadful for me. I know that it's for a reason. That's the reason why I want to watch the movie again, but it's a 7.5 right now.
Cool. I might be coming in the highest. I'm at 8.5. I really loved it. Like I said, the second time, I was trying to speed it up a bit, but that didn't actually hurt it because it's one of those movies that you want to see things that it requires the second view. You want to see it from a different perspective. And so that didn't harm it for me because I was so into what was going on anyway. But, I mean, it's a damn good movie. And there's 15 minutes left in this movie as I'm watching it, and I don't know where the hell it's going. And that's what I remember. That, and then when you get the payoff, it works. And that's what's great about it. So I really enjoy the film. So thank you for bringing it up. Who was it, Jason? 8.5 out of 10. Love it.
Nice. Yeah, and like I said, I always was super high on this film. I was called this one of my favorite films. And now having the Criterion Collection, I haven't delved into the special features yet, which I'm looking forward to. And even after hearing Tab talk about it, I got to read the novella because it's still intriguing, even though I did think the pacing was a little bit of an issue for me this time. I dropped it probably a half a point from where in my mind I was when I saw it, for the last time a few years ago. But I'm with you, Dave. I'm at an 8.5 still, even with the half a point drop. It is a beautiful film.
And
hyperbole.
You hear it? It is hyperbole.
I wasn't trying to be a dick. I've actually heard other people say hyperbole, though. I really have, Christian. I'm not making fun. I just want to know if anyone knew if one of these pronunciations is like.
I could be totally wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong because I've heard other people say it, not random people on the street, like people on television.
Right.
Because that's the ultimate in terms of who's right.
So there must be almost like piranha.
Piranha.
But if I am wrong, fuck people for not correcting me years ago because that's how I've been saying it for a long time.
To be honest, I always thought you were. I always tuned out at that point because I'm like, oh, he's talking about a college football game at this point. Like, I don't want to know about who played in the Hyperbole. I'm like, what is this? A bunch of ADD kids playing football? I'm like, no, I don't want to. I just gotta say it right now. I am killing it tonight.
Yeah. Once again, comedy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, not substance. I don't bring substance to the show.
No one said you did. No,
no one said you did.
Okay, so that's our first review. We're gonna go right into RRRs. Boy, there's a lot. We're gonna do what we can. We're not gonna go too crazy. We're gonna do it for an hour max and pull the plug because there's 4 of us here today, so it might take longer than usual, and we don't want to be up all damn night, and we don't want to keep Tab up all damn night either. So that's for sure. So we're heavy in here with these RRRs. We're gonna try to make them go quick, but we have a lot of movies to talk about, so I say we get right into it. Who wants to start? Oh, before we even start, I'm suggesting a game. All right, check it out. Whoever says basically the most loses. They lose. That means the other people have to pick. We have to force them to watch a movie for RRR for next show.
Oh God! Not the Descent. Not the Descent.
So I guess Tab is our judge then.
Oh, I will definitely say basically at least once.
Well, we're all going to say it at least once.
Oh, that's our go-to word when it comes to RRRs. Basically.
Can't stop saying basically. Yeah.
Why don't we let Tab go first? Let's let Tab go first. She's our guest.
Does she want to go first in this?
She's our guest. She's our guest.
I'm going to let you guys go first so that I can follow your lead.
That's what I thought.
Got to go next.
All right, I'll go first.
She reserves the right, because that's what I'm saying. You gotta. Right.
She's our guest. She'll go
first.
She put my theory to the test.
I'm assuming all this is being cut out, but I'm not completely sure at this point.
Oh no, this is it.
This is it. Okay.
This is what we call the good stuff.
This is the good stuff.
That's right.
All right, so let me get into the not so good stuff. All right, so I got 5. 3 of them are slashers, and I'm going to start off with one of those slashers. And this is all leading up to our episode 50, which is our top 50 slashers, North American slashers. And this one is 1979 Savage Weekend, a slasher directed by David Paulson, who would also direct Schizoid a year later.
Name was Robert Paulson.
Okay, so several couples head upstate to the country to watch a boat being built. Yep, a boat being built.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, they are stalked by a murderer behind a ghoulish mask. The best part of this film is that it features David Gale of Reanimator. Our lead character, Marie, leaves her son behind with her ex, the boy's father, and heads to the backwoods with her new boyfriend, who is the owner of this boat. They are joined by Marie's sister and one of her very flamboyant friends. The boyfriend also has a buddy named Jay come along on the trip. So there are 5 people total on this trip, okay? The setup is that Robert, who is Marie's boyfriend, is the new owner of the boat after the original owner died. Otis, who is the son of the original owner, is not pleased and talks of getting revenge. So there's your first clue as to possible identity of the killer or possible red herring. The film has the look of a backwoods slasher, but takes way too long to get going, if it even gets going in the first place. The sex scenes in this are almost pornographic, which is fine.
Wow.
But they should have focused more on the horror instead of the sleaze, because this lacks tremendously in the horror, and it's tremendously slow-paced. The red herrings are pretty weak, and after about halfway through the film, at least for me, I had a good idea of who the killer was. I found it slow. However, I'll say this, that probably most of the slasher completists out there will want to at least give this a one-time watch, but I would avoid buying it. The kills are uncreative. The gore is little to none. It's really quite boring, actually. It's not for me, but I'm glad I got another slasher off the list. I'm giving this one a generous rating, and a generous 4 out of 10.
Wow, you don't usually go so low.
And that's a generous rating only because on Cinema Attack we did Shitty Shark Week for episode 2, and those films were dreadful. I would rather watch Savage Weekend than any of those shark films again. I don't mind if a movie is dreadfully bad if you attempt to make a good film. I feel like this was an attempt at a decent backwoods slasher. And watching some of the interviews, William Sanderson was in this, and he played Otis. I didn't mention that, but he did an interview, and the actors had fond memories of it. But when you watch it, it's like, what's the point? Like, he's visiting a grave, talking to a dead friend of his, which leads to nothing. The kills are weak, and it's an odd group of people, and it's an odd thing to go up just to watch a friend and his buddy work on a boat. That's literally what they're doing.
That's funny.
That's what it's about. That's even what it says on the B.
I remember, Dave. Do you remember the cover to this? Isn't it a cloaked like skeleton with with the
great cover art? Yeah. Great cover art, and none of that is in this movie. The most misleading cover art ever. But 4 out of 10 is as high as I can go. Check it out if you want to just complete slashers that you haven't seen, but avoid buying it unless you've seen it and you like it.
It's a complete hyperbole?
Yeah. I would rather watch college football's hyperbole than... And for JP, that was 1979's Savage Weekend, in case you forgot.
4 out of 10.
Good job.
4 out of 10.
Good job. What's the basically count? Anything?
0!
Nice.
You know why? How I know it's 0? Because I prepared kind of what I wanted to say, so it's much easier when you prepare.
So you're saying you're not prepared for any of the other shows? Ever.
Basically. You tricked me, you bastard.
Nice. You know what I almost did? I almost recorded voice memos of all my RRRs just in my room the other day by myself, and then listened back before the show. And I thought I would do a better job, and I wouldn't see basically. And I already wish I did do that, because when I go into my first one, I'm only going to remember half of what I'm supposed to remember. See, I should finish the movie, and as soon as I finish the movie, I should go, okay, this is what happened, you know what I mean? But I didn't. Maybe I will. But anyway, I'll start here. This is a movie from 2017. It is called The Gracefield Incident. It is a found footage movie, so I had to watch it. It's PG-13. I'm not hating on it for that. That's fine, whatever. I don't need that. But I'm going to go right off the B here. In Gracefield, 3 couples are spending a long weekend in a luxurious cabin when suddenly an uninvited guest in the form of a meteorite comes crashing the party. Aha, it's already coming back to me. So yeah, these people are, they're going to this place called Gracefield. I forgot why. I don't know if it's a vacation, whatever it is, but they're very tech-savvy people. They're into photography and video editing and maybe even video game editing. But these people know their shit. And the one guy's boss is, for some reason, letting him go to this cabin. So he takes his buddies out there. Like I said, it's 3 couples. Now, before anything starts, there's expecting parents. And that's one of these couples, the main couple. And they get into this car accident. And it comes out of nowhere. And that's how the movie starts. Then it's flash forward to 10 months later. So these people have already been through some hell. They lost their baby. And that's a current, that's a thing about this movie, because the guy kind of gets in this, not negative, but he is afraid to lose anybody else in his life because of this. So he's really going through this, this mental thing where he doesn't want to lose his wife. He doesn't want to lose his friends. He wants to hang on to everything because he went through this tragedy. So that ends up being a major part of the film. These guys are out there, they're filming everything. That explains the found footage, that they're very much into, videoing everything and video editing, like I said before. So they're really into this stuff. Now the guy has an eye that's a camera. Because he had an accident, not only did they lose the child, he lost his eye. So because he's one of these, these guys that can do shit, he ends up putting a camera in his eye and didn't tell anybody about it. He's testing it out the first time on this weekend. His wife doesn't even know. So he has this fake eye, and he has a camera in it, and it's going to be filming. So that also explains why everything's being shot. That's the old, you want to know why in a found footage movie, why everything's being shot. So between his eye camera and his buddies carrying theirs, everything's being documented here. So they're out, they're doing something in the woods.
Fucking sounds ridiculous.
A meteorite comes down. Whatever. I guess it is ridiculous. They did the same thing in VHS too with the guy in the eye.
Fuck you, Christian.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
I didn't write VHS 2 nor direct it, so.
This is true. So anyway, something in the air whizzes by them and it hits the ground. They follow. They want to see what the hell it is, and there's this bowling ball sized hole in the ground. And this is what's stupid, because one of the guys reaches his hand in the freaking hole. If you saw something come out of the sky and then freaking go into the ground, would you reach into the hole? I mean, didn't you see Creepshow? I mean, you don't touch shit that fell from the sky. What's the matter with you?
You never reach into the hole.
Yeah.
Not a bowling ball sized hole. No, not at all. So
I
anyway,
go head first into those. I'm sorry.
Oh, shit. So the guy pulls out a meteorite. Pardon me. He pulls out this meteorite and it's cold, which is strange, but it's this weird thing. And then weird things start to happen. The guy hears his dog in a cave, and he also has a dog that he brought. He's scared about losing his dog as well. He's really into this thing. I don't want to lose anybody else. So they go looking for this dog, and then one thing leads to another, and they eventually decide to lock themselves up in the cabin because weird shit starts to happen. They don't tell the girls. Just the guys are out doing this part. So they say, let's keep it a secret. Let's go in here. Then all kinds of strange things happen. Everybody's phones start recording themselves. Everybody has a smartphone, and they start recording themselves, and they don't know why. Like, you know how on your smartphone you can, when you're taking a selfie, it's like that. It changes around and it starts recording. So again, another implement of found footage. Now all the electronics are getting messed with, so this is alien stuff. Alien hijinks ensue. There's a cool revelation, but I don't know. There's something else that they could have done different. It picks up in the third act, and there's an interesting ending, but ultimately, I give it a 6 out of 10. But for found footage enthusiasts like myself, it's worth seeing. It's worth checking out. So there you go. The movie's called The Gracefield Incident. What's my basically count?
0.
Yeah, I didn't notice any basically.
Damn, I was waiting for one.
Nice.
I'm definitely going to have to keep my eye camera on that.
Yeah, you lost us at Cyborg found footage.
Hey, whatever. What do you want from me?
We're going to explain this because I'm going to insert this camera in my eye socket.
And his friend actually finds out about it. He's like, wait a minute. He's like, What's that red thing that came out in your eye? Are you recording this? It's ridiculous. Whatever.
Tab, do you want to go last?
Sure, I'll go last. You go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
This is going to be a callback because Brandon reviewed this earlier in the year, and I finally got to see this. And that is the Belko Experiment, directed by Greg McLean, who, of course, is known for Rogue and Wolf Creek 1 and 2. And a refresher, in a twisted social experiment, 80 Americans are locked in their high-rise corporate office in Bogota, Colombia, and ordered by an unknown voice coming from the company's intercom system to participate in a deadly game of kill or be killed.
Is that Abe Bogota? Or is that Bogota?
Yeah, Bogota, sorry. Yeah, Bogota. Wherever. Yeah. Fuck off. Bogota. Hyperbole, whatever.
Bogota actually won the Hyper Bowl that year.
Yeah. You know, you kind of maybe not interested in wanting to see this movie because of your review. You came in quite low.
Really? I came in at a 7.
It was a 7? Dave, are you okay? 7. You're falling out of your fucking chair there? You all right? All right, buddy. It's like a 7. Whoa!
I almost lost my notes.
Okay.
Again.
He just pulled a Don't Look Now. They almost fell back into the.
This is how I'm going to boost up this review. Tab, did you? I don't know if you've heard this. So Dave deleted his notes last week. So by trying to recover them, he hit delete all.
It's because I pressed every other button and they got no reaction. So it was the only button left to press, so I pressed it.
Bogota. Who the fuck cares about Colombia anyway? You guys are in the States. Isn't there a wall there?
They're working on it.
You're working on that one too? Perfect.
I love China.
Yeah. Here we go. I had a lot of fun with this movie. If there's one complaint, it kind of plays out the way you expect it to play out based on the setup, but that's not actually a bad thing. It's a lot of fun. It's really gory, and I thought they had some great jokes and some great acting, and the special effects were fantastic. It was I guess because I went in with a low expectation after Brandon's grade, I came out loving this movie.
7 out of 10 is not a bad grade.
Well, sorry, I thought you were lower than that. So 7 out of 10 isn't bad. Sorry, I thought you came in at 6.
No, I was 7.
I came in at 9 out of 10.
Wow. No, you know what? I've heard a lot of people coming in that high.
Yeah.
This movie, all over the board.
I was so upset that I didn't see this in the theater, but I did miss it. It was just a crazy time, and I'm so glad I caught it now, and this is going to be a contender for my list this year. Now,
this film could go up for me on a second viewing. The only thing that bugged me was sort of the explanation for the conclusion. I felt like it was a little bit been there, done that. I kind of didn't like it. You
also mentioned, if I do remember correctly, I didn't remember the 7 out of 10, but I remember you also had that problem with the implants, which they explain at the beginning. Yes. There's implants. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. It was not.
It's not that I didn't buy it. I'm just thinking to myself, if I go to Bogota, or if I'm even crazier to go to Bogota, I probably won't let anyone implant a chip in my head.
Well, they explained it, but they did explain it. They said, you guys are Americans. By putting this chip in your head, it's for your own protection so that we could track you.
That's true.
We could track you.
You're right.
I was like, yeah, if I am going to wherever the fuck I'm going, then
put it right in the back of my brainstem, right here.
Put the chip in. And then,
that's what turns me off too, Christian. I'm with you. That's why I haven't watched it yet, because hearing that, what Brandon said, I was like, yeah, that is stupid. They just accepted this, and then they said, okay, only the Americans can work today, and they weren't suspicious. That's
they were, but that's it. They were suspicious. Watch it, and you'll be like, Brandon, screw you. You're 7 out of 10. No, I mean,
my review was that bad.
No, your review wasn't that bad. It just, I guess.
No, you said it was fun.
And that's it. I guess I remember your nitpicks, and I'm just focusing on that, honing in.
All right.
Exterminate.
Nice.
So there you go.
I'll watch it before next show.
Beautiful.
Before 46, I should say.
There you go. Cool. 9 out of 10. The Belko Experiment. JP.
Beautiful review.
Nice.
So mine is going to be quick because you guys have already done an episode on this. So if people want to know more, they should definitely listen to that because it's a great episode. But I just watched I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, which came out in 2016.
I am the pretty thing.
So this is directed by Osgood Perkins, starring Ruth Wilson and Paula Prentice. A home hospice nurse is assigned to care for an elderly horror novelist and feels unsettled in the home. I thought this was really atmospheric, really beautiful. It's very reminiscent of Shirley Jackson. I felt like this could be a Shirley Jackson novel that never ended up getting written. And I think it's not for everybody because it does have some of the pacing that like Don't Look Now has, where it's very slow and sort of builds up towards the end. But people who appreciate old school ghost stories will enjoy it, and I really loved it. It made me think of The Innocents, which is great because you guys did an episode pairing it with that, and then also Les Diaboliques.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good call.
And I gave it a 9 out of 10. So.
Wow, really? I'm so happy. Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. We all, I don't remember what our grades were, but we were all pretty high on it too.
I was
the
a 9. It
lowest.
was in my top 10.
I was the lowest.
Yeah.
Dave had it in his top 10. I was a 7. I just say, and the reason for that was just, again, the pacing. Very similar to Don't Look Now, but beautiful. I said Oz Perkins, man, is something. Both films I've loved. Can't wait to see what he does next.
Yep. And I've heard more people be down on the Pretty Thing than up. You know, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of people are sour to it. Now, the other Black Coat's Daughter, I'd say it's about an 80 percentile. People love it. You know, but Pretty Thing, I don't know. It's
Brian and Jamie, they tore that one apart.
And not just them, many podcasts.
Oh no, I know a lot of them. I just remember reading their takes on it. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
But like Tab said, it's not for everyone. But
it's absolutely cool. I'm glad you loved it. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right. What you at, B?
All right. My next review, my next triple R is the 2005 remake of the remake, House of Wax. Yes, it's the remake of House of Wax from Vincent Price, which is the remake of Mystery of the Wax Museum. So I just want to say that. Directed by Jaime Colette Serra?
Jaime?
Is that how you say his name? I'm not sure if I'm butchering his name. It was his directorial debut. He's the guy who's done Orphan. He just did The Shallows last year.
Oh, okay.
All right, so right out of the bat, I wasn't a big fan of this the first time. I think the whole idea of, a slasher, you got Paris Hilton at the time, I maybe viewed it as a joke when I first saw it. Watching it this time, I had a much different take on it. I really, really enjoyed the setup at the very beginning, the flashback to the 70s, and you kind of get a sense of what's to come. Then it pushes forward to modern day, where a group of 6 friends are on their way to a football game and decide to camp out in the woods for the night. Car trouble ensues. Typical setup, but they go for help, and all hell breaks loose when they reach this town of Ambrose, which is the hometown of the Wax Museum. I thought the kills are solid as hell. Brutal, satisfying. It's hard-hitting and pretty mean-spirited, but as the film gets going, you do get a sense that these cliched characters, because I did find them cliche at first, they actually care for one another. Some of the dialogue, when the shit hits the fan, is really well done, in my opinion, because it points to the fact that these characters genuinely are friends and not just another bunch of 6 random people put together, and it's like, why are these people together? There are a couple of nice twists within the story, and even a great one at the end. If I had to make one complaint, it would be I wanted more time in the Wax Museum itself. But the whole setup of the town and how it's all run is awesome. Yeah, overall, another fun slasher that cross off my list for a rewatch for this year's slasher show, and I'm coming in at a 6.5. I was definitely at around average to below average on first view, but the second view, solid film, 6.5. Maybe a little bit on the long side, but so am I.
You stole
With that
my
review,
line.
yes.
Fuck off.
Awesome. I've always liked that film. I saw it at the show, and I liked it. And I said it was more of a remake of what do you call it than House of Wax. It's more of
that Mystery of the Wax Museum that you saw at the show in 1933.
No, at the show. No, I saw this one and I compared it to what's that freak Tourist Trap. It reminds me more of Tourist Trap than it does House of Wax.
Yeah,
it's good.
In the Wax Museum, seeing all the wax figures.
All the
Fancy
wax.
that.
Fancy that. Going to the Wax Museum and this wax figures. Holy shit. No, I'm pleasantly surprised this time. It is a little long, though.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since. I bought it and I still haven't watched it.
Like an hour and 45, hour and 50 minutes. It's a long film, but it's entertaining and it's got some good twists and some pretty decent gore and good kills. I liked it. A solid slasher.
A lot of slashers have no right to be over an hour and a half.
I don't think so.
Generally speaking, slasher films. I mean,
yeah, no, I agree. A slasher, 90 minutes, get in, get out. Bada bing, bada boom, beautiful.
Yep. Unless you're Happy Birthday to Me or freaking
Scream.
the Scream movies.
Trying to make Butyl a thing, and you guys aren't jumping on board.
Butyl was a thing long before I was on this show. It's an in-joke with my friends. You can make it one. I like it. Butyl and Brutes.
I like Brutes better. Yeah, Brutes is good.
Right. That's why nobody's reacting to Butyl. Okay.
I must have missed out on Butyl. Or just...
Yeah, Brutes is anything Christian has to say on the show.
All right, let me move on.
Poor Tab. Tab's like, I'm in hell. When click.
Right? Poor Tab. Right.
Not
okay.
Where's Kate?
Now wait, I'm hitting the tab button right now. Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you get the sense that I'm hitting
my Control-Alt-Delete joke was bad, and then that fucking worse.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for either a tab key joke or the tab soda joke. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the tab soda.
Put it on my tab.
See, I'm fucked up. When I hear the word tab, I always think tab of acid.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, that's tab. Got any tabs? Yeah,
There's three now that you can think of for jokes next time.
I think of a tabby cat, and that's why I thought you liked cats.
Four. Yeah. It goes downhill from here.
That's what just popped into my head because I knew from reading her little bio that she was just a cat person and her name's Tab. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe she was named Tab, short for Tabby or Tabitha.
And by reading
short for Tabitha.
And by reading bio, he means creeping you on every social media platform there is.
No, I was following you in person.
Oh, that was you? Okay. That makes me feel a little bit better.
That's why you wanted to be on my LinkedIn.
Oh, shit. Okay, can I do something here? I saw this movie for the second time today. Just earlier today, as a matter of fact. I went to the movies twice to see it. Once with my wife and once with my daughter, because after seeing it the first time, I'm like, yeah, this is okay for an 11-year-old. It's rated R, and I really can't tell you why. Maybe the gore. I don't know. But this movie is Annabelle Origins. And it's weird because we got a question last week, and they said, what do you think it's going to be? And I said, it's going to be basically the same thing as the second Ouija movie was, which is better than the first, but not great. And I'll tell you this. I was kind of right, but I think this is a better movie than the second Ouija movie was. And watching it tonight, my rating went up a little bit, and it could have gone even higher if they just one little thing would have been better, although it wouldn't have made sense to the plot. But anyway, basically, everyone knows what this is by now. It's the prequel to Annabelle. Oh, shit. It focuses on girls that go to an orphanage, and they're at an orphanage, and they're being shipped to a house. There's a gentleman and his wife, and they lost their daughter 12 years prior. And they reached out to the church or whoever and said, hey, you guys can set up your orphanage here. There's 6 girls. I believe it's 6. Yeah, it is. It's 6 girls, and it's the sister, the nun that comes with them. And the gentleman is there, and his wife is bedridden. And we're not 100% sure why, but she wears something over her face where we find out that she can't walk. But these girls get a good thing coming their way where they're allowed to come to this house. So for the most part, it's about these 2 girls. They're the youngest 2. I thought they were sisters the first time, but no, they're just like best friends. And the one girl is actually from the Ouija, the second one, Origin of Evil. And is that what this is called, or is that what this is called? Either way, whatever. I get them confused because the second Ouija, similar type thing with it being an origin story. But and she's just a little doll. She's a cute girl. She's a great actress, and it's really about her mostly and her best friend who's a little bit older, and she's been stricken with polio because again, this is going back in time when that was still a thing which could happen. So they go to this house, and I'm not going to get into everything because I could go on and on. It was a really well-made film. And some of the things are telegraphed because we've seen them in the Conjuring movies before, and you knew some things were going to happen, but they still handled everything well. This guy tried his best to direct like James Wan. It's really well made. There's good shots in it. The music is good. The characters are good. The performances, just technically, it's really good. It's definitely worth your time. I've heard people coming in really high, like top 10 worthy. And I'm not going to say that. There's one scene where somebody straight up should have died and didn't. And because when you see it, you're like, okay, that person's dead. And then they go back to it, and that person's not dead. Now, in order for the story to be what it is, it's imperative that person survives. But when it first happens, I was like, wow, this would be amazing if this person was dead now, and then we went on to something else in the film. And that didn't happen. When you see it, you'd be like, wow, they had the balls to do that and this and that. And it didn't end up being that way. But the cool thing about Annabelle is it's just like the first movie. And I'm not saying the first movie was anything special. But when you look at Annabelle, it's not a killer doll movie. This movie is about a demon. And they do a great job of explaining how and why. And it's not like Chucky versus Annabelle. You hear people saying it doesn't make any sense. This is not a killer doll movie. This is about it plays such a small part, Annabelle. They keep her. She's only in certain scenes. Her role is done perfectly in this film. It's more about the demon and why it's there and other things that happen. And I don't want to spoil or give anything away, but it's really a well done film. The only complaints I have really are just that some things you could see coming, and just same thing with the jump scares. You could see them coming, and I don't mind the jump scares. There's like 8 or 9 of them, but I would say more than half of them are earned. They didn't bother me. A couple, and my daughter actually said it when she got it. I recorded it for the 11-year-old horror fan, but I'm not going to play it now. But I'm building up. I have like 5 or 6 of them now. I don't know what I'm going to do with them all. But she even said it. She's like, yeah, the only problem is you knew when the jump scare was going to come. This is an 11-year-old girl talking. So, I mean, if she knew the jump scare is going to come, everyone's going to know it's going to come. She has this all figured out by now. So for an 11-year-old to recognize that's the only knock on it. But it's better than I thought it was going to be. And again, on the second view, it actually went up. Check it out. If you can get out to the theater to see it, do it, because this is the kind of movie that I would even say at this point, go on a Friday night with the kids there. I didn't because I'm with my daughter, and it was opening weekend last week, and this was the second week, so I didn't want a huge crowd. But part of me wishes I was there for the effect of going to the theater and having the jump scares and the kids jump and everything else. It's fun, but I'm gonna come in at a 7 out of 10.
Nice.
But I could actually even see it coming in higher on a third view.
Is it essential to see the first one? Because I still haven't even seen the first one.
Not at all, except for the last 5 minutes of the film where they tie it in. They do a good job of tying it into the original, where you're going to watch it and you're going to say, well, what does that mean? Why did they do that?
Oh, okay.
But this whole Conjuring universe thing is working out, and I hate to use that word because usually things universe, I'm tired of it. I'm not into this, the superheroes and everything's got to be a universe now. But it actually works here. There's a little nod to the Nun here. And there's something else. Stick around after the credits. They do one of those stingers, just like those movies do. But it's cool what they're doing here, and I like it. As long as they make movies that are at least this good, I'm all for it. But the Annabelle thing, part 1, here's what I do. I came back from watching it the first time, and I said, I want to watch the first Annabelle now because I want to remember I knew what was going on, and I only saw the movie once. You guys know me. I don't remember shit. But when it ended, I'm like, I looked at my wife. I go, that's the family from the first one. And then after that, it doesn't matter that much, but it's really cool how everything comes to be. So yeah, go check this one out. And then when you're done, if you need a refresher, watch the first 15 minutes of the first Annabelle movie. And it ties in pretty sweetly. So go check it out.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not really surprised.
2 basicallys.
Yeah.
2? Okay. All right, we'll see what happens. We got 3 more to go.
All right. Next film is a new one. We got the screener. I don't know if I'm supposed to do anything formal for the fact that this was a screener. I'm not going to. Dave, I'm looking to you.
I'll look and see. I'll see which one you're talking about, and if so, I will. Go ahead.
Evil in Us, 2017.
Yes. I'll do it now for you because it's coming out. I think by the time this comes out, it's still going to be a little bit early. So yeah, I'll do the thing here. This is from RLJ Entertainment. And it is going to be available on VOD, DVD, and digital on August 29, 2017. There you go.
Beautiful. Oh, that's it. That was nice and simple.
Thank you for the beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's it. Rock and roll.
And here's the basic plot synopsis. While on a 4th of July holiday, 6 best friends fall victim to the insidious plan of a mysterious organization when they are unknowingly transformed into bloodthirsty cannibals. Here we go. Here are the notes. It's Canadian.
Yes, it is. St. Catharines.
It has a techno opening credit sequence that I wasn't very fond of. It's like this, like a beat going on the back.
Why are you dancing to it? He's dancing to it like, but he's not fond of it.
It's so annoying he's dancing, right? He's dancing by memory. That's so annoying.
I don't know if, Dave, you saw it, right? Brandon, you didn't get a chance to see it.
I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Okay. So it's
I saw it as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tab. Okay, you saw it. Nice.
Yeah,
Christian, there is a fourth guest here.
Forgive us, please.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So
sorry.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Miso soup. Sorry. Anyway, we're gonna. So the opening was that techno scene, right, Tab? So then all of a sudden there's a bunch of people diving into blood, splashing into blood, going backwards in the blood. Like, don't look now, Dave. Like, it's a girl drowning backwards in the blood. And you're like, what? And then blood splattering down, but all this to this techno beat. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm not gonna like this movie. That was my first thought. And so anyway, then it finishes and we get this introduction to these police officers. They're on a call and they're going into this building. There's been some noise complaints and they have to go investigate the scene. And I will admit that had a decent amount of suspense. I actually liked the build up and the payoff on that scene. I won't spoil anything because it's a brand new movie, but it's definitely a gory little payoff. However,
good practical effects in this film.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. However, then it shifts, and you get that main detective, who is a piss poor actor, couldn't deliver a line convincingly to save his life. And I should rephrase that. I don't know if he's a piss poor actor, but he's piss poor in the role of a detective. That's probably more accurate. Like, I just did not buy him as a detective at all. He could not deliver a line. I was like, come on, this is horrible. Bush
that
League.
Guy's a real police officer in real life.
Well, it's Bush League then. As they try to develop the characters, so what this is doing is shifting between this investigation and these kids going away on their 4th of July weekend of fun. There's a connection, a very loose connection that's played out later in the movie. Ultimately, the kids they try to make them overly likable. There's a lot of forced dialogue and whatnot just to I guess, move the story along and make them a little bit more three-dimensional than the usual. The usual tropes, no cell service because they're in the bush, I guess. And ultimately, it's Evil Dead mixed with Summer Camp. Summer Camp from last year or 2 years ago.
Summer Camp.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah, I liked Summer Camp too. This is not as good as Summer Camp.
I never saw part 2.
Even Tab hates you right now.
No, Tab's loving it.
She's like, holy shit. No wonder they brought me on for replacement. Like, you could just see it in her eyes. She's like, I can see why now.
It all makes sense.
Yeah, it all makes fucking sense. Even Charlene's probably dying on the other show. It turns a little political at the end. A little. It turns totally political with this anti-drug sort of theme brought into it. I don't want to say too much because it's new and we're trying to make it as spoiler-free as possible. Interesting, but I said it was ultimately forced and heavy-handed. Some good things, and I do like how the movie ended. So I came in at a 6.5 out of 10.
Tell you what, I have to watch it a second time. I want to watch it a second time because I think I missed a few things. But all the killing stuff was really good, and the practical effects were good. But I was a little bit... I don't want to say anything because it's spoilerific. So I'm trying... I don't understand the reasons why, and I'm not 100% sure on exactly how on some things. But that's me. It requires two views sometimes. So I don't know. What about you, Tab?
I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. I felt very, very old watching this because I was like, get off my lawn with these kids. Like, they're very annoying.
Yeah.
And the opening seemed like a ripoff of the new Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, except for instead of blood, they're using like the weird ink blot, I guess. But it looks like somebody saw that and said, that's really cool. We're going to do that for our movie. And I thought the acting was really sketchy. It was rough.
You know what? I thought the main girl was good. The blonde girl was good. I thought the boyfriend was horrible. Like, not horrible, but bad. Most of the other ones were passable, or like I said, with that detective, brutes.
He looked like he had just graduated high school. How is he a detective?
It was just miscast for sure. I think that my slightly higher-esque rating, not that 6.5 is high, but it would signify that it was enjoyable and worth checking out, I would say, based on how we rate things here. Enjoyable and worth checking out for some. And like I said, if you're a fan of summer camp, this is not as good as summer camp. There's some similarities to it, but and there's some good gore. That's the reason.
There is. Mm-hmm.
Check it out.
I dig the gore.
What did you get? What would you rate it if you had to come in with a rating, Tab?
I think I'm probably right around you, 6.5. I liked the practical effects and I liked the violent scenes.
I know.
That sounds weird to say, but that was my favorite part. I also think that they didn't mesh the two plot lines together very well, so that took it down for me.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely.
You know, it felt like a different movie. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't it seem like the way it looked, like the film grade or something, was like two different movies when they were going on the back and forth?
Who knows? Maybe it was. Maybe they had this 6 kids go away for the weekend, and they're like, shit, we don't have a full movie here. So then they put this whole introduction, and they'll say, we'll tie it together with this one character, because that's the only way it's tied together.
That's true. Yeah. It's almost like, did you ever see Cabin Fever Patient Zero, the prequel for it? Similar type thing where you have the kids here in the present, and then you have these. I wouldn't say present and past. That's the wrong terminology. But you have these people in this location. Then you have the clinic and what's going on with the spreading of the disease over here. In a way, it's similar to that. But the film stock looked different. It's like watching a Saw movie. You know how that stuff always looks, and then watching, I don't know, The Conjuring. You know what I mean? Just different looking films. That was a little bit jarring. So well. I'm around the same ballpark, though. But I want to watch it a second time because I think something was lost on me.
Those seem like pretty high ratings, though, for a lot of critiques. So I'm still intrigued to check it out.
Yeah, it wasn't unwatchable. It was just, there were some things that weren't grading.
Cool.
So my next movie is Theater of Blood, 1973. This is a Vincent Price film that I hadn't seen, but that I had heard talked about a lot. And it's directed by Douglas Hickox. Stars Vincent Price and then also Diana Rigg. For those of you who don't know, Diana Rigg played Olenna in Game of Thrones. I think that's how most people know her at this point. But this is young Diana Rigg, obviously. A Shakespearean actor is humiliated at an awards show and seeks revenge on his critics. This was Vincent Price's favorite of his own films. And this was everything I loved about Abominable Dr. Fives, but set in like a Grand Guignol type theater atmosphere. So I give it a 10 out of 10 because I love older movies. And I love this sort of horror comedy thing that they have going with Vincent Price. I definitely think it influenced Edgar Wright when he was making Hot Fuzz, just the small group of people that sort of get picked off one by one. So I definitely recommend checking it out.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's one of my favorite Vincent Price's films, if not my favorite. I've always loved that film.
We got to start referring to him as Vincent motherfucking Price. If we're giving it Tom motherfucking Atkins, then it's Vince motherfucking. Like he's the man, and he classed up everything he's in. Yeah, just by being in it. It's great.
I class up everything I'm in just by being in it.
Not this show. Not tonight.
Not tonight.
Not tonight. Jesus. fucking brutes.
Brutes.
We're going to kill it before it even becomes a thing.
Oh, we kill everything before it becomes a thing. All right, let me get into it, try to make this one a little quicker, because Christian and Tab have really got this tight-knit review down.
Yeah, man.
Whereas Dave and I want to just dissect each film.
I know.
All right, my last slasher.
Can I add something? Dissect by not saying anything. That's the other
thing. Wise cracking prick. Yeah. All right, next one I have is a 2004 slasher, and it is called Hellbent. It's about a serial killer in a devil mask going around Hollywood killing gay men. Yeah. Okay, no reaction, so I'll just continue.
No, it's the I don't know if it's the only gay slasher, but it's the gay slasher.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's the gay slasher. The main protagonist is Dylan, who works for the police, but is not an officer because of an eye injury he had. He actually lost an eye, but he did not put a camera in there.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, him and 3 of his buddies head out on the town to have fun. It takes place on Halloween night, and one by one, they're being picked off by this serial killer in the devil mask, and he's really giant guy. It's almost like a bondage S&M devil type thing. You don't really learn much about him. Dylan meets up with Jake, who's a guy he likes, and together they form the pair that fight to bring down the killer. For a gay slasher, it's played pretty straight. They don't really, I gotta say, they don't really ram it down your throat. I wrote that intentionally. I'm like, I still can't read it.
Of course you did.
No, I'm talking about with the issue of sexual preference and the whole, homosexuality. It really,
I agree with you.
Even though it is a gay slasher, even the character in the film says, I don't want this, when the serial killer starts killing and they're hearing about it, I don't want this to become a gay issue, a gay rights issue. And the film isn't. It just so happens to revolve around the gay community, but it would work in any scenario. It doesn't take it.
It's not. They don't hit you over the head with it.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
That's what's good. Yeah, it's done right.
They're gay. It's it. It would have been fine if it was men and women running around, or all women, or gay women.
Exactly. Right.
Gay dogs.
Gay dogs?
Dogs. Although I hear all dogs are bi.
They are. I agree.
It like I said, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it doesn't poke fun at the subgenre either. Taking place on Halloween makes it a great flick to add to your October Halloween rotation. If you're offended by the gay lifestyle and that puts you off, then first off, skip the film, and second, learn some tolerance.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the last shot of the film, which left it open for a sequel. I guess I'll spoil that. It did leave it open for a sequel, but at this point, 13 years later, we're probably not getting it. Nothing new, but still solid. Another 6.5 for me.
Inches? You really probed deep into that.
Damn, with all the jokes I had in there, I can't believe I said another 6. I couldn't come up with another 6.5 inches on my own. You just stole the jokes that I made all previously. Yeah.
That's what I do.
Amazing.
That's all they'll remember. That's all the listeners will remember.
That's right. Ultimately.
It's great. It's pretty good, I thought.
Vince keeps telling me to see this film. I have never seen it.
Really good film. It's a solid slasher.
Yeah.
It's a solid slasher.
Watch it in October, like you said. It's a Halloween-based thing, so it definitely fits in.
I think Vince wanted to do it for TGIF 13, and we might have to do it. Maybe that's what we'll do for Halloween. Makes sense.
There you go. Why the hell not?
I'd seen it, I think, years ago, but I recently, in the last couple of years, had reheard about it by watching somebody's, like hidden films to watch on Halloween. Like less popular horror films to watch on Halloween, and this was one of the picks because it takes place on Halloween, and it's a solid choice.
All right. I'm going into mine.
Choice. Is that why you're laughing?
I'm so too mature.
I know.
Solid.
Now I'm hoping that Christian saw this too. He said he was going to watch it. I don't know if he did, but we were talking about it earlier in the week because I need some help.
I know, and no, I didn't.
Okay, well, I'm still going to do the best I can with it. Among Us 2017, after the mysterious death of their young son, a couple desperately flees to a remote lake house to escape the unrelenting haunting following them, only to discover the mysterious entity is still very much a part of their lives. Yeah, that's half of what I was going to say. I know, and that's what I was thinking when I was watching. I'm like, yeah, look at this. There's a tie-in here because they did lose a son, and there is something going on like that. But it's weird because when the movie opens, there's a scuffle, and they're running off. They're in a car, and I forgot which one said to the other, but they're like, our son is gone. Whatever was there, that is not our son. So they already set you up for something happened with the son, and they had to, put an end to it, and it wasn't really their son completely. So what's up with that, So now they end up, they have a crash too. What is it up with freaking crashes? What happens again here? 8 months later, the guy's in a wheelchair. He's they're at some cabin. They're like at a retreat. They're trying to piece their life back together. He's a little bit of a miserable. He can't get over it. But he's sitting inside all the time, smoking weed, doing his thing, looking out at the world while his wife is outside doing other things. And you see little hints. Kitchen drawers are opening up. Something's going on. Then they meet the landlords to their cabin. They live right next door. They have a son. The son ends up going missing. We find out that this is the 5th place they've moved to since they lost their son 8 months ago. And this is the 5th time they've had to, something went down and they decided they want to leave because all of a sudden they see this kid and he's dead. He is the landlord's child. He just turns up dead. They go on a walk together and this is what they see. And the guy says, you know what? No more running. We're not running. We're going to stay here and we're going to see this out because everywhere they've gone, shit's gone down. And they're tired of running. So they go to a restaurant and they actually go there for the sole purpose of hooking up with a waitress that works there because she was on a ghost hunting show. And the guy knew she was there.
So that makes her
Yeah.
easy? We're going there. I got to hook up with her because she was on a ghost hunting show. Easy prey.
Easy prey. Well, no, he wants to bring her in to help with going on at the house, with what's following them and everything else. Is this real? And the wife isn't so sure. It's is this a put on? She's on a ghost hunting show, and at first she's reluctant, and we find out later that she gave it up and everything else. But she comes in and she begins to help them out, and she has all the stuff to ghost hunting stuff. And one thing leads to another. We get more info on the kid's death and what's going on. There's something that's being held back. I don't know if they're doing a poltergeist tribute in this movie or they're just ignorant to the fact or whatever, but there's a couple things that happen in this movie that are almost word for word things that are said between the investigator and poltergeist when she's talking to Jo Beth Williams and Craig T. Nelson in that movie. There's even a scene where they're whispering like she was in that one, because I've seen poltergeist so many times that I can't miss it, So I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but it's a little poltergeisty in that respect. Eventually they discover the Coopers, which are their landlords. They come up, they discover them murdered, and they go into a seance. Then they find they do end up talking to their son, and they find out what their son is really afraid of and what's going on here. And I'll tell you what, it goes into possession territory. There's a batshit crazy climax and a what the fuck ending. And I end up with kind of no clue as to why these things ended up the way they did. So I'm hoping someone else can watch this movie and tell me what their interpretation of it is. At this stage, I can only give it a 6 out of 10. Could go up if I know more about why. That's where I'm at. But I'd still say it's worth your time. Check it out. It's called Among Us 2017.
But speaking of what the fuck, I watched the movie WTF.
TWF.
TWF, yeah. And this synopsis is so freaking long. Here we go. And this is right
it's
on.
It's going to be longer than your review.
This is, yeah, pretty much. That's why I put it in. This is right from The Bee, as Brandon calls it. 3 years ago, 22-year-old girl next door Rachel barely survived a brutal massacre that left all of her friends murdered. Time has passed and Rachel's moved on, but unfortunately her close friends are spending spring break in a secluded house in the woods, and they have cordially invited her to join. She would never have accepted the invitation if she realized that another bloodbath would be showing up as a +1. Yep. Once Rachel and their friends arrive at the cabin, the partying, sex, and terror begins. From girls-only pillow fights to debauchery in the bedroom, it's going to be a blast. Aside from the stabbing, flesh melting, and castration, 7 friends will go into the secluded house for the best spring break of their lives, but only one will be alive to post about it on Facebook the next week. As Rachel's biggest fears become a reality once again, can Rachel survive another bloody massacre? Holy shit, that was long, eh?
Yeah.
And that's
I'm sorry,
the premise.
I checked out very early.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure how long it was. I went out to dinner. So.
Perfect.
Oh.
That was brutes.
You said basically, Brandon, by the way.
Perfect.
When?
I forgot to bring it up. You said it earlier. I forgot to say it.
This is old school sleazy slasher, so it's going to have a fan base. But really, at the end of the day, it's only mildly better than average. It opens great. It opens with this girl running out of a cabin, covered in blood, topless, right towards the camera, saying, "What the fuck?" as she dies.
Yeah.
So it's a great opening. It's a great opening.
She dies from a head injury from running straight into the camera.
Yeah. It's right out of a Mel Brooks movie. Oh, sorry, the camera crew's here. No, she has a knife in her back.
Dude, that turned me off, actually. I watched this movie, too. And when that happened and she said, "What the fuck?" and died, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a ridiculous comedy. but it's not a ridiculous comedy.
No.
But when I saw that scene, that's the vibe I got. You know.
And then we're then treated to a fucking hour of meeting the kids, a bit of backstory, more nudity. Yeah, the guys are attractive, the women are attractive. So, I mean, there's eye candy for both sexes. But at the end of the day, it takes too long to get going after that opening. And then you're left to like the last 20 minutes for everything to sort of kick into high gear. It does kick into high gear, but it's almost like too little too late.
Kills weren't good enough. That's my knock.
And that's
better
it.
Kills
Kills
would
were
have served it better.
kind of ridiculous. And again, the description kind of spoils some of them, to be honest. 5.5 out of 10.
There's one thing I want to say about this. I wrote this down. They said 3 straight characters in this one conversation said "fucked up." It was the dialogue in that scene was so bad.
It was so bad.
Someone says,
exactly it.
"Oh, you know what I'm talking about?"
Oh, yeah.
He says, "Oh, that's a fucked up thing to do." Then the other guy says, "Yeah, man, that is fucked up." Then the third guy says, "Yeah, I don't think he would do something so fucked up to you."
Fuck was used as emphasis in too many sequences in this movie.
Yes,
and
a lot of unnecessary F-bombs.
Exactly. And it was
Not
unnecessary.
not as bad as Kingpin, as I always call it, gutter balls, but a lot of F-bombs that were unnecessary. At least I remembered, you know?
Sorry, David.
The reveal.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Work on you or not?
Well, no, I can't say what movie it reminded me of because it will instantly spoil it. However,
Crush the Skull?
No.
Crush the Skull!
Crush the
What
skull!
the fuck? I said Crush the Skull! What the fuck?
That's how they should have ended the movie. Really, that's how they should have ended the movie. No, it was, it resembled a film that came out last year, but this one was kind of just a cheat. I don't think it was built up for the payoff.
Actually, the way you described, the way the synopsis read, it made me think of a film that came out last year.
What film?
Right.
Last Girl Standing?
That's the film.
Okay, the synopsis sounded exactly like
Exactly.
it. I wasn't too high on Last Girl Standing. I know a lot of people loved it, but I'll still check it out.
That was a classier one than this. This is more sleazy. So if sleazy slasher is what you're looking for, this may deliver the goods.
So I have 2 documentaries. I'll do the first one and then I'll save the second one for my next round. But this first one is called A History of Horror. It's a BBC documentary that's hosted by Mark Gatiss. And this was recommended on a podcast that I listen to a lot called Monster Party. So I decided to check it out. It's actually a 3-part segment. They must have aired it on 3 nights. And the first segment covers the Universal Monsters. Second segment covers Hammer Horror. And then the third segment covers the 70s American horror boom. And I did like it, but I think it does tread some pretty well-worn territory for horror fans. There's no surprises. You're not going to be wowed by anything that's in there. And it is meant for just a general audience. So I do prefer the second one that I'm going to review next, the other documentary. But it is worth checking out just to see some of the interviews that they get. So I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
You had me at Hammer Horror, but then yeah, I still want to check it out.
Mark Gatiss had me at.
Yeah, it's a great documentary and he does a good job. It's just you're not going to learn much new from it unless you're not familiar with those.
Where did you check this out?
It's actually on YouTube. I tried to find it in a legit way, but YouTube is where I ended up having to go.
YouTube is pretty legit here.
Okay.
In Exploding Heads territory, YouTube is pretty legit.
Some say it's too legit to quit. Hey! You didn't get a laugh at a tab tonight, Brandon.
I've been laughing this whole time. I just usually don't laugh out loud.
She LOL'd me. Look at his face. Look at the feet. Look at the feet on Brandon's face right now.
No, I'm thinking how big is that there? That's just amateur. That's
the bad ones are always the winners.
Brutes. I deliver some beautiful stuff, and that was brutes. All right.
You've killed it.
All right. The next film is from this year. It's from the director Colin. I'm going to butcher his last name. Minahan. He's one half of the Vicious Brothers. And it's called It Stains the Sands Red.
There you go.
Nice.
I'm going to read the description from the B. Then I'm going to give my thoughts on it. And I know you guys... Tab, did you see this?
I didn't get to watch this one.
You didn't get to watch this one? Okay, so Dave, Chris, I know you saw. You'll chime in also. In the throes of a zombie apocalypse, a troubled woman from Las Vegas with a dark past finds herself stranded in the desert with a lone and ravenous zombie on her tail.
Indeed.
I mean, I gotta say, as a whole, if I was doing my review by myself, I love the first two acts. I think it works because we have a strong protagonist in Molly, and I love the way she nicknames her zombie Smalls. Made me think of the Sandlot.
Smalls.
Yeah,
That was funny.
I
That was funny.
just immediately thought of the Sandlots. But the first two acts, and I know, Christian, you said you were finding it dragging a little bit, but I found it worked because of her performance. I was really impressed by it. I saw an evolution in her character from this troubled young woman with a past who sort of feels like she's the victim, and she grows and matures throughout the film, and ultimately, in the end, she kind of becomes this badass female heroine. And I love the way the undead storyline is more like The Battery or even The Walking Dead, where the focus is still on the living. You know, the struggle of what would you do in this scenario, and the breakdown of society with some of these characters who are just, I mean, there's a few characters in here that are pretty awful, but two in particular, you guys probably know what I'm talking about, who show up to lend a helping hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that the zombie apocalypse is the backdrop and plays a major part, but the living is where the story's at.
Dave came in really high last week, or last episode when he did it.
What was his review?
9 out of 10.
His rating?
9 out of 10.
Buddy.
And when Dave rates something high, I'm going in, and I thought the setup was good. And stylistically, Dave, you hit it on the head. Beautiful to look at. If this low budget film like betrays its budget, it looks gorgeous. It moves. Great camera work, camera angles. The performance, her performance is great. The setup is kind of comical but serious, and they do a great job introducing her and where the story leads. Then I found that the first act went on too long. Went on maybe 5 to 10 minutes too long, and I was getting antsy. I'm like, this is not going to be the whole movie, is it? Then it kicked into the second act, and I loved it from that point on.
Okay.
That's what happened.
So you're talking about like the first act, like the first 15 minutes?
I'd say by the 20 minute mark.
Oh, okay. Okay,
20,
I get what you...
20 minute mark. I thought I needed to get to, because it's a two, for lack of a better, like a two-person show, it just needed to move. She already developed the nickname. We already kind of experienced some things, and I just felt like it went on for a couple of scenes too long at that point.
Yeah. No, but Dave talked about a major, like, you're either with it moment or you're against it. And based on the scenario, I don't know why I'm drawing comparison to this movie, but it felt like almost like Tom Hanks accepting Wilson as a being to me.
So you didn't like it?
No, I didn't mind it at all.
Oh, okay. All right.
I didn't mind it at all. I was on board.
Okay.
Like, and ultimately, I love the way, you know, I don't want to spoil anything, but the way the way she concludes her storyline with this zombie.
Okay, so you were cool with it? See, were you cool with it?
My only quibble was I thought that first act went on way too long, and I just didn't feel like the movie was going to progress anywhere. Then it does, and then I had no issues with it moving forward.
Yeah.
Next to no issues. Excuse me, I'm hiccuping.
Did you gag at that one scene, the tampon scene?
No. No, it was. I mean, because I think I was expecting it, so I was.
You salivated.
Yeah.
Victor salivated.
Now I'm gagging. Yeah.
All right. What did you rate? What did you rate it?
What did I come in? Hold on. Well, you.
All right, I'll get my
yeah,
rating. I'll get my rating while you look up yours. I'm high on it as well. Again, I only watched it once. I was kind of piecing through scenes before the show started, but I definitely want to watch it again, and it'll be, you know, a contender for top 10 for sure by year's end. I'm coming in right now at a solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah, you guys are both higher than I was. I did enjoy the movie. Right now I'm a 7 out of 10.
7, 8, 9.
Wow. 7, 8, 9. Interesting.
All good reviews. Well, good to great.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
My review was beautiful.
It's not going to catch. It won't catch on if you keep doing it.
I'm forcing it. I'm forcing it.
Yeah, dude. Can't force it.
My lord.
Fucking brutes.
And I feel bad, Tab. Did you see What the Fuck, or WTF, I guess is the official title?
No,
Okay.
I hadn't seen that.
Thank God. Okay, good.
You feel bad for not asking our guest if she saw the movie, if she wanted to chime in?
Yeah. I did. That's why I said I feel bad.
What a prick.
It's me. Okay, boom. Back into the slasher kick. Finally. I had to watch this one because it came recommended from somebody. And I'm not sure if I had seen it before or not, but it did come recommended, and it's the slasher year, so I had to watch it. And Brandon's been laughing at me the whole time since I told him I watched it, but this movie is Doom Asylum. And, whew, are you guys familiar with this movie?
I've seen it.
I have not seen it. The cover has turned me off from ever wanting to see it.
Yeah, it's a terrible cover, right?
Okay. I didn't even know what the cover art was. I don't even know why I got into it. But either way.
That's the reason you never saw it before, Dave. I guarantee based on your...
Probably.
Yeah.
My criteria. Right, yeah. This is true. Again, there was a car crash in the beginning with a couple. What is this crazy night? Wow. It's ridiculous. But anyway, it's so ridiculous that there is a car crash. And right after the car crash happens, which happens for a completely idiotic reason, these people, they're celebrating, they're going to come into money. I forgot what it was. But all of a sudden, the guy's making out with his girl and he's not even looking at the steering wheel anymore. It's just silly. But then they get into this car accident. And the first thing you see is that, she's a little bit bloodied. He's a little bit bloodied. And they're laying there, and he sees that she has a severed hand. And they're laying in some hay or some grass or something. And he sees that she has a severed hand. And the funny thing is you can see this woman trying to conceal her real hand in this fucking scene. So it's low budget, of course. But it's just so stupid in some respects, where right after that, by what you see, you don't think anybody's going to die. And sure enough, the woman's dead. And now this guy's being examined by coroners as if he's dead. And he just comes to life. And they're like, oh, I guess he's not really dead. And then he gets up and he freaking just takes the stuff, the coroner's utensils, and he kills the freaking two coroners. And then flash forward to freaking 10 years later, and all these people are characters, and they try to make it comical. And it's just not done right at all. I wish I had more time to get into it because there's so many ridiculous things happening here. Like at one time, the woman said, the girl says to her boyfriend, because she's grieving, she ends up being the daughter of the girl that died in the beginning. Okay? And it's played by the same girl.
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
Right? Yeah, can I call you mom?
Yeah.
that whole thing. He's like, yeah, I'll take care of you. I know that you're grieving because of this and this, and I'll be here for you. And she's like, can I call you mom? And he's like, yes. So solely because this is her boyfriend. Now, because he says that the rest of the movie, he's trying to get out with her. And he's like, how could I have sex with my mom? Is her response back to him. It's just that stupid. There's just these really stupid things happening. And they're driving up to like, oh, yeah, did you hear that there was murders here at this asylum? And it's like, there's a killer that is known to be at this asylum, and like nobody cares. It's like murders happened here, and they never found the thing, and they go there, and of course the guy's still there. And there's some other kids that are in the. It's just really mindless. It's everything bad. When slashers get a bad name, it's because of films like this. It's just ridiculously mindless, and there's a couple silly things that are done intentionally with comedy, but they're all such characters. Everyone gets like a gimmick. And they have to live it out the rest of the movie. The guy had trouble making up his mind. They mention it at one point in the beginning. And for the rest of the movie, everything he says, he's like, we're going to go this way. And he's like, oh, you know what? No, maybe we should go that way. That's his gimmick the rest of the movie because of one comment made about him being undecisive. And they all just become awful characters. And they meet these other people that are supposed to be baddies. And it's these three girls, and then there's this love scene between the girl and the guy. They're in different groups, and they keep having these dream sequences, and they fall instantaneously in love. It's almost like a trauma flick. But it's
her death was cool though. The badass girl.
I don't remember exactly, but there are a few. That's just it. What you said is the saving grace to a degree. There are actually 2 or 3 good kills. There's a good kill with a face slice. I was looking at my notes. It's crazy. There's a good a drill kill that works good. There's like 2 or 3 good kills. There's good eye stabs. There's a ridiculous kill in a machine, which doesn't make any sense.
That's the one I'm talking about. It's like it's like a compressor or something.
Yeah, she trips over nothing and then lands on this thing like a conveyor belt, and she's just like wiggling around to her own death, and it's just silly as fuck. Bottom line,
yeah,
it's so bad. It's not so bad it's good, but it's so bad it's weird. But for some reason, I could see people wanting to watch this, maybe in a group, but it's just weird. But I'm coming in at 3.5 out of 10.
Whoa! You never come in low. Whoa, what?
I'll say, and it's the worst slasher I've seen this year. And you know how many slashers we're watching?
Watch
It's
Terror
definitely been the
Killer.
worst one.
Terror
You watched-
10 Killer. Watch it.
Watch Friday 6 this year.
Oh, fuck you
No,
with
it's-
that. Hey,
Speaking
Tab,
of
are you a
Friday
Jason
Six-
Lives fan? Or have you
I
watched?
have not seen Jason Lives.
What?
That's why she's still smiling.
Have you seen the new Blood, Part 7?
I think I've only seen up to part 4.
Ooh, stop.
That should be your favorite franchise then. If you've only seen the part 4, that's like you should be like Friday's the best franchise ever.
Right. Yeah, if you don't like part 2 that much, you'll hate part 6 and 7. Good God.
Kristen Davis from Sex and the City was in this too. She was the one who was playing the psychology major who had the most ridiculous death of all. He's not real.
Yeah.
He doesn't exist.
Oh, so stupid. Just because the parents are psychology,
Yeah.
that's her gimmick, and then she wants to psychoanalyze everything. It's just so weird. I don't know. But here's what I've noticed. This is the only bad slasher I've seen this year. Like bad, like below a 4. Like I've watched a lot of them. Like I said last show or the show before, that a lot of them fall in that middle range. That's what I like about slashers. But here's what I've noticed: the franchises. This is what's weird about the franchises. The franchises all have the slam dunk best slasher movies, but for some reason they also have the worst. There's a lot of 4 out of 10s in the franchises, where a lot those middle of the road slashers, those bubbly freaking, like what's that shit, like Sorority House Massacre and shit like that. I'll give those a 5, 5.5. But I'll watch Halloween 5 or Friday 8 and say that's a 4 out of 10. See, that's what's weird about the franchises. That they're either excellent and then there's really bad films.
I think it's because you judge them against
Maybe.
the other entries in the franchise. I think if like you put a killer on a boat with a hockey mask and his name is Terry, maybe it's not so bad.
Maybe
Terry
not.
takes Manhattan.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
a hit's
JP's
written
right.
all over it.
Sounds like
Maybe JP has a point. If you're judging it against others in that franchise, maybe you're coming in too low. I don't know. It's possible.
Oh, I thought you meant the point of kick Brandon off the show.
Oh, wow. He's brutes. We already know about that.
Brutes.
That should
Sometimes
be his
I'm
nickel.
beautiful, sometimes I'm brutes.
I just said that should be his nickel name.
Nickel name?
I can't talk tonight.
I can't talk either, obviously. Shit.
Don't you
Oh,
mean my
tongue-tied.
penny name since I'm Jewish?
I don't know.
I'm not
Oh,
low.
my Lord. This is, I think, your all-time low on this show. Tab gets to
Poor
experience it.
Tab.
Tab is smiling the whole time. She's having a great time.
I am.
That's all
true.
that matters. Well, I'm glad someone is.
So-
I got to edit this mess. My next film, I got to thank Jason Lloyd. This is another screener, but this came with no other information. So it's a screener of a movie that I was really looking forward to from Fantasia Festival last year, and this is Fashionista. The synopsis is very simple. A woman who uses clothes as an emotional crutch discovers her life isn't as ideal as she thought. Now, it's directed by Simon Rumley, who is best known for Little Deaths, which I really enjoyed, The Living and the Dead, which I haven't seen, and Johnny Frank Garrett's Last Word, which you two both saw and both enjoyed.
yeah, fan of that film. For
So
sure.
I still have to check that out. That's another one from this year.
Yeah.
It stars Amanda Fuller and Ethan Embry, as we talked about earlier. I thought his performance in this was fantastic. He's a main character for sure. There's like 2 male leads, but I would say he's the main lead. It's not really a horror film, but it handles the subject matter with horrific overtones. So the first thing that I thought about was Requiem for a Dream, which is great. So you're like, I can't wait to see this movie now. However, I thought that this movie, Fashionista, was far inferior to Requiem for a Dream. Requiem for a Dream, I loved. I love it. And I love the way that addiction is portrayed in that movie. And I actually do feel like that is very close to a horror film and could be viewed as a horror film, despite the fact that maybe most people won't classify it as such. This one plays out a little bit more abstract. And I wasn't really along for the ride. In fact, I was kind of complaining as I was watching it that it reminded me of a third-year student film.
Oh, yeah, I remember you saying
and it kind of, by the look, by the way that it was edited, everything about it. And then, interesting enough, the first credit at the end of the film said that this was dedicated to a certain filmmaker and was done in his style. I unfortunately didn't write the filmmaker's name down, and I'm familiar with the filmmaker and his style, but I'm like, well, that could explain things now, because this was like a love note to that director.
Did he die in his third year of film school? Oh, sorry. That was terrible.
So I said this is intriguing. I go, intriguing, it explains the stylistic choice. So now who am I to challenge that, as that was his goal? I just was unfamiliar with the source material, I guess. So I kind of let the slow pace and bizarreness go after the first act. I just let it go and try to enjoy the movie for what it was. It gets really bizarre and goes into really weird territory. The performance, I can't fault either performance or any of the performances in the film, but I still was let down by the movie enough that I've given it a 6.5 out of 10. So for some movies that comes in at, hey, it was a 6.5 out of 10. Check this movie out. You'll enjoy it. This one, I was disappointed. It's still a 6.5 out of 10. It still should be sought out. I know Jason Lloyd, I don't know what his rating was, but I feel he came in much higher than I did on this film. So it's worth checking out, and I will have to watch it again.
Right on.
So the second documentary I watched was also hosted by Mark Gatiss. So it's also a BBC documentary. It's called Horror Europa, and it's an overview of horror by region. So they go through Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. And I knew I was going to love this when it began with Daughters of Darkness from 1971. And that's influenced things like The Hunger and even down to the character of the Countess on American Horror Story Hotel. So they're covering some not as well-known movies, which I really liked. They go through German Expressionism. They hit Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and The Hands of Orlok, which is a great silent film starring Conrad Veidt. French post-World War II horror, and talking about it as a response to the shame that France felt after the Vichy government cooperated with Nazi Germany. So they talk about Les Diaboliques, Eyes Without a Face. They go through Italy. They talk about Bava with Black Sunday, Blood and Black Lace, Whip in the Body, and of course Argento, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and Deep Red. The part that I learned the most from was the part where they talk about Spain, La Residencia, or The House That Screamed from 1969, and the Blind Dead series by Armando de Asario, and then one of my favorite movies, Who Can Kill a Child. So I gave that one a 9 out of 10. I think people will learn a lot more from it if they're not familiar with foreign horror. If you're really familiar with foreign horror, it might be the same thing as History of Horror, where it's kind of a retread, but they do get some really fascinating interviews.
That actually sounds awesome. I'm familiar with a lot of that, but I haven't seen a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the titles more than the films themselves.
Like, I own the Blind Dead series. I haven't watched it. You know, I've seen a lot of the French films, you know,
right,
the German films, but, you know, Who Can Kill a Child. But I love documentaries, sometimes more than actually watching the films. I like hearing people talk about the films more than the films sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued by both. Even the one that you say you're not going to learn anything from. Same thing like for Brandon. Like, I just love, I don't care. I'll sit back and just be like, yeah, it's like brain candy.
Yeah, I'll watch both because, like, I'm interested in Hammer horror because I'm just about to start getting into it because I literally have no experience with Hammer horror whatsoever.
Make sure you see Vampire Circus. That one's my favorite.
I actually own it. Right. I haven't watched it yet though.
Awesome.
So yeah, a blind buy, but I'm excited to start watching those. And those were both on that one was on YouTube as well.
That one was on YouTube as well, and that's just a 2-hour movie. It's the other one is like 3 1-hour parts.
Cool, awesome,
cool. I'm checking both of those out for damn sure. Nice.
Last one of the night is a special Patreon patron Hall of Head review.
Oh yeah, Hall of Head.
Man, Jerry Herring himself.
Hall of Heads.
Hall of Heads. We're making it happen. And for me, he chose the 1997 Japanese animated film Perfect Blue. Now, believe it or not, I had actually seen this film before. It'd been a couple of years, but once he said to me, "You're covering this film," I'm like, "Is this the film with that and that and that?" And I looked it up, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is." And so, Perfect Blue. Mima is our main character. She is a J-pop star who decides to transition into acting. When she lands a small part on a drama series called Double Blind, she becomes a hit, and her role in the show is made bigger. The arc of her character, however, is made darker, and they decide to shoot a rape scene, which upsets a strange man who has been stalking Mima. It upsets one of her agents, Rumi, and it also greatly affects Mima herself. Mima is warned by Rumi that shooting this scene will ruin her career and her reputation, but she decides to go through with it anyway. She begins to suffer hallucinations and breaks from reality. This makes it hard not only for Mima, but for the viewer to be sure of what's real and what's a dream. It's very hallucinogenic throughout. Meanwhile, male figures associated with the show are being brutally murdered. I believe the screenwriter's killed, the photographer on the show is killed, and it's gory. Just because it's anime, I'll talk about something else later on. Mima is also being haunted by the pop idol version of herself, almost like a ghost version of herself from when she was a pop star, telling her that she's tarnished and filthy and claiming that Mima, the actor, is not the real Mima. While this is all going on, there's a website called Mima's Room, which reads like a diary of her, but it's being written and manipulated by someone who isn't her. This puts added tension on her, and it makes her look like she might be the one responsible for the killings, because there's always posts about her complaining about a certain individual, and then that individual will be killed. So with her declining mental state, she can't even be sure if she's the killer or not. The film it's beautiful. I mean, I've always loved the look of Japanese animation. It's not a kids movie. I know when people see, anime films, they automatically assume it's kids. It's not. It was originally supposed to be a live action film, but there were issues with funding. They don't shy away from the violence. Like I said, there's nudity, there's rape, there's plenty of taboo subjects you wouldn't normally expect to see in anime. The story, for me, it deals with loss of identity. It focuses on the idea of one's role in society. In this case, being an actor is much more prestigious and honorable compared to the perception of being a pop idol. That's how it's perceived in Japan anyway, or what I got from their social issues and stuff like that. It deals with the pressures of the entertainment business and not always making the choice that's best for the individual. Its main theme to me, though, is the mental health and the fragility of one's mind. The film has a wonderful pop soundtrack, creepy, ominous music when necessary, and wonderful and powerful imagery. It requires multiple viewing and still leaves some things open to interpretation. Unfortunately, the director, Satoshi Kon, he passed away very young, but I do want to check out a couple of his other films that I've heard of. Tokyo Godfathers and Paprika I'd heard of, but I've never seen them. So I'm definitely going to check those out. I just want to say thanks to Jerry for picking this. I loved it. It's a great film. I would have loved to have seen this as a live action film, especially with some of the twists and turns. I really don't want to get into spoiler territory, but the characters are great, and I loved every minute of it. It's a terrific film. Highly recommend. 9 out of 10.
Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah. It's a great film. I mean, I kind of wish it was. I just wish it was live action. That's the only thing I wish. And I'm leaving so much out. Especially in the final act, there's some revelations, and there's a chase scene and a showdown, and there's one scene in particular with someone about to be hit by a truck and mistaking the truck headlights for like spotlights, almost like looking back into the past fame and the loss of that fame. And it's very poetic and beautiful. I loved it. Thanks, Jerry. Cool. Yeah, it's a really good film. 9 out of 10.
Nice, man. Nice. Cool. What's it called again? Blue Sunshine?
Perfect Blue.
Blue Sunshine.
Perfect Blue.
No, Blue Sunshine is the film, but where everyone's hair falls out from using LSD like 30 years earlier. But
oh, so the acid was called Blue Sunshine. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that was
right? Without even seeing it, I can tell you that.
That was who did Red Shoe Diaries? Did that film or was in that film?
No clue.
Solomon King.
Solomon King, isn't it the guy? Well, whatever. All right, let me get on to mine. Boom. Prom Night 2. Hello, Mary Lou. I've only seen this. This is the third time I've seen this. I saw it at the theater when it came out.
At the show?
And I remember the show. Yes. I remember being a kid and seeing this. And like I said, it's the third time. I watched it like in the early 2000s, and then I watch it now. But watching it this time, it's now on Prime, by the way. So that's why I saw it. I gotta watch this. It's Year of the Slasher anyway. So I checked it out, and as I'm watching it, it took me back to that night. I was remembering the things that made the audience pop and the fun I had watching that movie and everything else. So, but it's a good flick. Of course, it's nothing like the original. You know, as most people probably know. Something happened in 1957. There was this Mary Lou got killed, and this is truly a supernatural slasher. Damn it! I said the B word. I should just look at my notes, and then I'll never say it. But this is truly a supernatural slasher. I've heard that term thrown around for other things like Candyman and other movies, and I don't necessarily consider them slashers. This is the one that is a supernatural slasher that really works on those levels where it's supernatural, but they're slashers type kills, and it just qualifies, in my opinion. But obviously much different from the original. Michael Ironside is in there. You see 57, and you see the stink bomb fire and the girl burning, and then later on, Vicky is the girl. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I already messed up. Vicky. See, that's why I shouldn't look at my notes, because now I don't even know.
What happened to Mary Lou?
That's what I'm saying. Why am I looking at Vicky? Vicky's mom is an asshole. Oh, it's the modern girl. The modern girl was Vicky in 1987. Okay. So, yeah, her mom's an asshole.
It's a repressed memory. Vicky's mom's an asshole.
Yeah, that's what I got here.
That's awesome.
But Mary Lou has a date, and then there's another friend, and this is in the future now, and they've grown up knowing what the hell happened in the past because she cheated on one guy with the other, becoming a priest, and the other guy is like the principal of the school. So that's the one thing that was the same. That one of the main characters' parents is in a position of power at the school, because that was something that happened in the first one. There's some cool visions in this thing. Shit gets real with freaking weird shit. There's a freaky scene with a horse, which still freaks me out to this day. There's a sequence with a chalkboard, which is really cool, with her getting sucked into it. There's some tributes to directors. There's characters named after Romero and Craven, even Henenlotter. It's cool. There's a couple good kill scenes. There's a locker scene, which is cool, with somebody killed in lockers. It's really cool. Eventually, Mary shows up. She makes her return. It's kind of weird how the hell it all plays out, because, for 30 years, nobody decided to look into this freaking attic and wear these old clothes, and that's why it kind of gets stirred up. But whatever. You can't dig too deep in it. But when Mary shows up, there's some fun kills that take place. It gets wild. I think one thing, I understand why they went this direction, but at one point they could have ended the movie, and it would have been a sad, tragic, gut punch of an end. And it might have boosted the movie. But then afterwards, that's when Mary Lou really does show up and things happen and it gets out of control. So I understand why they went where they did with it, but I think if they could have done it just a different way and have Mary Lou come back earlier and then have this. And if anyone knows the movie, they probably know what I'm talking about. And I don't want to get into it, but it was still a good movie. 6.5 out of 10. It's on Prime, so check it out.
I have to see that one again. Funny enough, I remember, one I've seen tons. 3 I've watched a lot, and 2 I've seen once, and 4 I've seen once.
I've never seen any of the sequels.
I made my friends rent Hello, Mary Lou for prom night. We went to prom, and then we came back and we watched it, and I was the only one that was into watching it. But
nice.
Let's rent this one.
I hear part 3. Part 3, I was looking because we're doing all the slashers this year, and part 3 seems to show up on some lists of underrated slashers.
Yeah, some people like it. I gotta watch it.
I mean, like I said, I've only seen the first. I'm high on the first one though, not super high, but higher than most.
And it's comedic. I liked it.
But 3 or 2 or this one?
Well, no, all of them. 4 was my least favorite. It returns to the serious tone from memory. It's been a long time. Mm-hmm. I remember thinking it was all right, but I enjoy the goofiness of 2 and 3. And of course, I love the first one. And I detest the remake, which I don't even really consider a remake. Anyway.
You know what though? There's good stuff in here. There's good dramatic stuff. Yes, it is supernatural and there's some crazy shit, but there's some good stuff in here. There's the girl, her friend is pregnant. There's some stuff going on there. There's a little bit of teen drama going on. It's not all, off the wall shit.
The blowjob scene.
There's some good kills. Oh yeah. So yeah, Prom Night 2.
Yeah, and I'll do my last one really quick as well. It's another newer release. It's called Cut, Shoot, Kill. It's from 2017, obviously. It's directed by Michael Waka. No relation to Jimmy. Waka. And here's the synopsis. Serena Brooks, an ambitious young actress, signs on as the star of a horror film with a crew of backwoods filmmakers that have worked together for years. When the cast starts disappearing, Serena has to become her character if she wants to survive. Tab, don't you just hate him? It's like nails on a chalkboard.
Damn.
Yeah, right?
No, he's great.
I waited till the end of the sentence to throw that in.
Did Dave just say, no, he's great?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does have his fans. See?
He does have some fans. Who knew?
We like a lot of the same movies, so.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
There you go.
Picnic and Hanging Rock. Great.
There you go.
Admittedly, this movie was filmed very well. The budget was obviously low, but yet it's another movie that seems to not show its budget limitations. The acting in this film was way above what I experienced in WTF. I'm not saying it was fantastic, but it was definitely better than what you come to expect from some of these low-budget slasher-esque movies. Yes, I guess this is a slasher. She's in a horror film. And what we find out is the movie's really a snuff film. As the description kind of alludes to. This is not really a big spoiler because you kind of realize this, the 15 minutes into the film. And then the movie plays out. So she's got to survive. And how they play it out, there's a little bit, you're talking about drama and Prom Night 2. There's some dramatic scenes that you're kind of like, oh, these, not that they're not needed, but they just seemed weird considering that it's, more along the lines of a slasher film, and you could just get along with the action. So I kind of respected it for trying to create story and build these characters up to be three-dimensional. So not a total waste, not a home run. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Seems to be the theme for the night.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of 6s. Yeah, and I'm being vague because it is a newer release, and so I don't want to give too much away. I think the synopsis is enough.
Cut, shoot, kill. I keep thinking capture, kill, release. It's those titles are right exactly the same.
Yeah, I thought the same thing as well.
Yeah.
I do like the cover art for this. Looks a little old school. It's got a hand through a movie slate, and it's bleeding down. It says cut, shoot, kill.
Yeah, that is a cool cover. I saw that one.
Nice. I almost watched this one, but I didn't.
I'll keep my last one very short because you guys have done another great episode on this movie. I just watched The Devil's Candy from 2015, directed by Sean Byrne. Stars Ethan Embry, Shiri Appleby, and Pruitt Taylor Vince. I really liked this movie. I liked The Loved Ones, so I figured I was going to like this one. And I thought Ethan Embry was great. He's so good in this movie. I thought the daughter was great. I loved their relationship. I loved the soundtrack. I really had a good time with this movie. I felt like the ending was a little anticlimactic for me, but I had a really good time watching it, so I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah, we were all higher, but I could agree. I think I was a little bit more, I guess, turned off by the CGI fire climax.
Yeah, that was a little rough.
I still didn't notice it. I watched this again last week, and it didn't even hit me. I wasn't even thinking about it. It's weird. It just didn't even cross my mind.
Okay.
Didn't it? Yeah, great film though. Great film. And The Loved Ones was amazing.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite films.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Okay, that was great. We have to rush through these emails and things. You know what? We have to answer that question. That's what we have to do. Top of the mops. It was from Neil. He said, "What are your top 5 independent horror films?" So we decided to not do all time, to go 90s and up, because everything, Texas Chainsaw, Romero's Deads, freaking Friday the 13th, Halloween, all these things were independent films. So in order to, make it a little more interesting, we decided to go 90s and up. So there you go. What do you guys got? You got a 5?
I did the millennium and up, so.
Whatever makes you happy. I went 90s.
Actually, mine actually works Millennium enough, but
Yeah.
I would have done 90s if I had.
Yeah, we talked about it. We said to go 90s.
No, you did, but I mine actually was all Millenniums.
Oh, well, what do you got? Shoot them off.
90s sucked anyway.
All right, you want me? All right, I guess I'll just go. Yeah, I left off for the sake of making this list a tiny bit more interesting. I left off films like Saw and Martyrs, which people know are like two of my favorite films of the millennium. I left off The Babadook. I even left off The Loved Ones. The five films I put number 5, Pontypool.
Canadian.
Definitely worth checking. Canadian, but better than Christian.
I agree.
Number 4. A film a lot of people don't talk about, and I really enjoyed it. I need to see this one again. This one would definitely benefit from a second viewing. That's called Resolution. I believe it's from 2012. Did you guys see this?
Yeah, good flick.
Yeah, real interesting film.
Yeah, check it out.
Number 3, Citadel. Have you guys seen Citadel?
I've seen Citadel.
I have not. I've heard.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it too. It was creepy. And then my number 2 and number 1 are really no surprises to people. Number 2, I have The Final Girls. I just have a love affair with that film. And my number 1, one of my favorite films of the millennium, The Invitation. Just brilliant. Some of the best acting I've seen in a, maybe it's not a straight up horror, but horror thriller. It gets to me every time.
Both of those are great. I got to see The Invitation at Telluride Horror Festival, and they had John Carroll Lynch there doing a Q&A.
That's awesome.
And it was really good. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, Logan Marshall Green and I forgot who played what's her name?
I know Tammy Blanchard was in it.
Tammy Blanchard, that's what I was trying to think of. They were phenomenal. And John Carroll Lynch was too. I mean, yeah. They all should have been recognized for awards.
Right on. All right, who wants to go?
Oh, okay. I have a really hard time making these lists, so I just picked ones that really surprised me or included things I had never seen before. So number 5 for me is The Broken from 2008. This has Lena Headey in it. It's not a super well-known film, but it's very short on dialogue, and it's a lot of nonverbal acting, which I was really impressed by. My number 4 is Grace from 2009. I thought that was amazing. I thought Jordan Ladd did a really great job. And I already didn't want to have kids, but that definitely made me not want to have kids. My number 3 was May from 2002. I think Angela Bettis is so brilliant in that movie. Awesome. And it's just a weirdly beautiful film. Number 2 for me was Ravenous from 1999. This is one that Kate introduced me to. It's got a really like gallows humor feel, and Robert Carlyle and Guy Pearce are amazing in it. Number 1 for me was Excision from 2012. This is one a listener told me about, and I was totally blown away by Anna Lynn McCord, and it was just not what I was expecting at all. So that one definitely has to be number 1.
Great choices. Yeah, we were supposed to do a face-off with Banana Laser for Excision.
Yeah, we still haven't done that, Dave.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll get to it.
Yeah, Anna Lynn McCord was phenomenal in that. And The Broken, I was going to ask you, but I actually looked it up while right after you mentioned it, if it was a certain cover art. And I always liked that cover art, but I haven't seen that film. But now I want to see it.
It's good. It's got Richard Jenkins in it, too, who's a great character actor.
Oh, he's phenomenal. We were just talking about him recently on my other podcast about all the roles he's done. And in particular, I think he steals the movie in Step Brothers. I really do. I think every time he opens his mouth, I'm just dying laughing with whatever's coming out of it.
Yeah, he's great.
Don't make a sick joke, Christian.
I'm not. And I'm more annoyed by this list because I can't finalize it the way I want, because I feel like the idea of independent is so broad now.
Yeah, everything's independent now.
I mean, I don't even know if I like my top 5 list. I mean, I like what's on it, but it can't. I love so many more films that I guess are considered independent as well.
I hate your top 5, and I haven't even heard it yet.
Yeah. Well,
so don't feel bad that you don't like it.
We're going to let Dave go last.
Dave's fast asleep.
No, I'm not. No, I fucked up something with my notes. I'm okay, though.
Oh, okay.
No, the notes.
Didn't fuck it up. It's okay. Didn't erase it. Just fuck something up. Okay.
I just hit delete by accident.
My number 5 is The Voices. Came out a few years ago. Ryan Reynolds. Really enjoyed that. And the final, number 4, The Final Girls. Right there with you, B. Number 3, Trick or Treat. Number 2, February. and the Blackcoat's Daughter, and number 1, The Loved Ones.
Yeah, so tough. Great list. There's so many.
Yeah, and there is.
It
you guys mentioned some already. I'm like, yeah, I could easily put that on there as well.
All great. You know what I did? I decided to leave foreign films off in a way to cut it down.
Same with me. No, you said that earlier, so I took Martyrs off. Because that would have been on there too.
Right.
I guess we should have prefaced our whole discussion by saying that, because I specifically said this is going to make it easier, which it didn't.
Not much easier, no. 'Cause there's still a lot of lesser-known films that are great.
No, it helped, but I still have all heavy hitters. So there's nothing obscure about mine. But there's certain things that I just know I couldn't leave off. So even despite taking off, making it from the 90s plus and taking the foreign films off and everything else, I still end up with something pretty basic. Because there would have been a lot of foreign on there. Like you said, Martyrs, Rec, and Rec 2, I think were, I think they're Independence and some other French Extreme ones. Lots of good ones. So I ended up going with these 5 American films. Number 5, The Blair Witch Project. Number 4, Scream. Scream. Wes Craven Scream. It comes up as independent.
It did come up as independent. I saw that.
It came up on my search. I just kept doing searches, and that's, So I went with Scream. Number 3, American Psycho. Number 2, Saw. And number 1, of course, The Witch.
Fuck, man. It don't get much more generic.
What are you gonna do?
Honestly, I love all 5 of those films.
That's what I'm saying.
I do. I mean, you at least did it right. You told, we all kind of went around it.
I know.
Kind of been 5 that surprised us. 5.
Right.
5. You went with your 5 favorites.
I did. That's what they asked. I stayed true to the game. I got rid of a couple of things, and that's.
Oh, and a shout out to Proxy. I wanted to put that on my list. I don't know why.
That's a good flick.
That's a brutal and great flick.
It's good. Dude, I could have put on It Follows and I didn't. I could have put on freaking Bone Tomahawk and I didn't.
Yeah.
I left some recent ones that I really liked a lot and rated crazy high off.
Probably be harder to put a top 5 mainstream or studio
I think
films
it would be. I think it would be at this point.
Yeah.
Because who knows anymore? If Scream is considered independent, then yeah.
We are going to put off Derek's until next show, or till 46, because it's going to require a little thought anyway. It came in tonight, so that'll save us some time. That'll save us some time. We're going to put off an email, another one, until show 46, because when we answer it, we have already done what this person's asking us to do. So we'll be able to address it then. But it's also addressed to your other show and 22 Shots. But when you see the email, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's something that we've already done, so it doesn't matter. This one I have to play, though, because this is something that's going to directly affect show 46. So let me just cue this one up and play this one quickly, and then that'll be that. Then we get on to our final, because time is of essence. Okay, so.
Hi, guys. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Christine Stroud. Just wanted to let you know I really enjoy your podcast. It's really a lot of fun to listen to. I work in a cubicle by myself, and I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts, and you are one of the more enjoyable ones. I really appreciate the foreign movies that you're willing to talk about. But I do have a question. Does it make any difference to you how we listen to the podcast? Is one format more beneficial for you than another? I generally listen to you through iTunes downloads, but I also have you available through a podcast app on my phone also. And just didn't know, does it make any difference as long as we're rating you on whatever we're using? So that was one of my questions, because if I can use you on multiples, I would do the one that helps you out the most. I'll also leave my number at the end of this, because I also wanted to talk to you about, I am donating to you, and I forgot the name of the bloody program I'm using to do it. But I also wanted to talk to you about a Crack and Wise segment. I think it sounds like fun. I also think it sounds a little intimidating. But I also wanted to ask about, what all that would entail, too. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. I worked at a theater from 80 to 85, like in my high school and shortly after years.
Nice.
Many of these slasher movies you guys talk about, I saw first time in the theater because I could get in free. We saw everything, good, bad, and the ugly. And so it's a lot of fun revisiting things that I have not seen since 80, 81, 82. Hope you guys have a good day. Take care. And my number is...
No, we don't have to air that. So, there you have it.
To the listeners. They want. That's a great voicemail.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
Now,
that's
sorry,
fantastic.
it came in a little blurry at the beginning. Did you say her name was, or did she say her name was Christine?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
what I was going to ask.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. That's
Yeah.
what I
Thank you,
thought. I
Christine.
just want to make sure. Thanks, Christine.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm
We were-
glad she's up for the cracking wise, because we were talking about this, that we want people to take that option and come
Yes.
on and have a good time. Like, I love that people want to pick movies, and I'll watch whatever someone picks, but come on, have a good time.
I think Tab experienced it tonight. It's literally just coming on and talking with us,
and tomorrow she's quitting podcasting.
all the effort we put into our show. These fucking idiots just throw together whatever and put it out there.
No, this is awesome. I'm having a great time.
Well, thank you. Are you trying to convince yourself?
Not.
I'm having a good
She
time.
worded it as
I'm having a good
question.
time.
I'm having a great time?
She's blinking a lot. I don't know who she's trying to signal off the camera there. Is Kate over there?
Christine,
Kate's trying to
get out
save
with
her.
Dave, that's a good question, because I don't even know that. Because when I'm listening to other podcasts, I want to make sure they get credit for a download and the whole review thing. I got to start reviewing, so you know all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. It's iTunes. iTunes is the best way to do it. It's the most noticed. It's actually Apple Podcast now, but it's the most recognized, and it seems to be the way to build up your podcast. The most is what goes on with them. So
Okay.
you're doing iTunes. That's awesome. You're rating us on iTunes. That's awesome. You're in the Hall of Heads. That's awesome. And we're so excited that we are gonna finally do a Cracking Wise. So if you can get Skype, either if you have a smartphone, you can get it there, or on your computer. If you don't have that access, we'll just do phone-in style. We'll figure it out. We got the number. We'll be in touch, but you'll be hearing this anyway. So Cracking Wise, she'll be here on show 46. We'll do a segment with her. So we're very excited about it. That's why I had to play it now, because this is our only chance, because show 45 is no fucking around. Boom, boom, boom. You know, it's one of those shows.
No fun, no fucking around.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Let's just get this out of there. Out of the
We'll
way.
see. So yes, we're looking forward to that. Very much so. And thank you again. So, boom, that's that. We are going to our final review for the evening. And then we're getting the hell out of here because it's late. So, that's that. Brand new movie by the name of Red Christmas.
Okay, Red Christmas, 2017, directed by Craig Anderson. A mother must protect her family on Christmas Day from a demented stranger who is hell-bent on tearing them apart. And this one stars the legendary Dee Wallace.
Produced by her, too.
Produced?
Yeah.
And this comes out the 25th. The 25th of August. It's theatrical and VOD. So, it's all over the place, which is good. The 25th. What the fuck? Again, August 25th, not November 25th.
Yeah. Bizarre.
Not December 25th.
I know.
This is the second time this has happened in 2 years. This exact same thing happened. What was that movie last year? All Through the House? Or
Yeah.
what was that?
It came out that early? Yeah, Good Tidings came out later. All Through the House came out that early? I thought it was a little later.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Maybe it was October. Maybe I was wrong. Or September.
To be fair, though, Red Christmas does nothing to capture the Christmas horror feel, so...
I
in my-
disagree.
What?
I disagree. How
It
could
might
you
as
not
well.
think-
It might as well have been Thanksgiving dinner.
No, because the
Well, it
second
takes place
time
in
I watched-
Australia. What were you
I
expecting?
don't give a
Snow? Like,
What?
Either way, I
it
thought
takes place in
Christmas-
Australia.
Oh, please! I was checked out very early. This movie's ridiculous.
Are you serious?
Are you being serious?
I'm being
please-
dead serious. I'm being dead serious. I know you guys are probably gonna blow this film, but I like the opening. I love the opening, the protest, the abortion, the bomb scene. The opening score is fantastic.
That was great. Agreed.
That was the best part of the movie. Then it flash forwards to 20 years later, and I'm like, why is Dee Wallace have an American accent? Everyone else has Australian accents. I get it, they're in Australia, but
Yeah. Because
It's
she's
just-
from America and she married somebody from another country, and the kids were raised in that country.
Very
She held
simply
on to her accent, and they were raised there, so naturally that's what they speak. That's
I don't
common
know.
sense.
It seemed ridiculous to me.
I can't believe you even opened this up like that. I'm shocked.
I'm shocked
Yeah?
too.
Really?
I really am. The production
Oh, yeah.
values, knowing the kind of films you like, I just,
Wow.
yeah, I'm very
Tab?
surprised. Yeah, Tab, would say something. I'm shocked.
Slap Brandon across the face with reality.
There were things I
agree
liked
with him.
about this movie, but I don't know that I loved it. There were, like I said, there were things I appreciated, but I do think that it veers off in some weird directions, and I think that it's a little uneven. I probably am more on par with Brandon.
I was gonna say it's a very heavy-handed at the front of the film with the whole abortion thing, and then it kind of, I don't know, it kind of lets up on it.
Well, what do you want? Preachy shit for a movie? For a fucking
If you're
film?
gonna go heavy-handed at the beginning, give me that for the movie. Make it really dark.
Well,
That was the
Mother,
setup. That was just the
Mother,
setup.
I want to read my letter. I want to read my letter.
Oh, that scared me.
Oh,
The fucking
come
first
on.
time I
Oh my
watched
God,
it,
Dave, I'm right with you, man. I
Yeah.
fucking love this movie. I love the opening. I thought Brandon was joking. The opening,
I
the first 2.5
I really
minutes.
wish I was joking. I don't think I'm like. Look, we haven't even really talked about the movie, but I'm just gonna say it. I'm not gonna come in as low as you think I'm gonna come in. But I was very disappointed because I was expecting amazing things from this. I was just underwhelmed.
My
I felt
only
that I felt. I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the characters felt very cliche. You got sort of like I don't want to call her slutty just because she's pregnant, but you sort of got like the free spirit wild daughter and her husband. Then you got the generic like Bible thumping daughter. Like it was like it didn't mesh well. Then you got the one daughter who's I didn't even think she was Australian. I think she was Spanish.
Hope.
I think she's mulatto. Actually,
I don't
totally
understand.
think
Like
that
I
she's
didn't.
with my dog.
I didn't find it annoying at all.
My
No, not
favorite
at all.
part of the film, the best performance of the film, the character I loved the most was Jerry.
Jerry's
Yeah, he was
great.
great.
Jerry was terrific.
Joe was
So was
great
Joe.
too, though. Yeah.
So was
Yeah,
Dee Wallace.
I love
Oh,
Joe.
Joe. Yeah, I forgot about Joe. Joe was terrific too. But
I wanna be Joe
Dee
someday.
Wallace was very disappointing for me.
What?
I found a lot of the choices she made were serious, were silly. Silly.
Yeah,
Absolutely silly.
I'm dumbfounded.
At
So
one
am I.
point, she drops the shotgun and then they run into some room and she's like, "We need to look to see if there's a gun around here." I'm like, "You just had a gun."
The phone thing too. She said she's gonna put the phones all around, and then she forgot her own phone, and then the phone rings, and she's got the phone on her.
Yeah, and why did she have to go outside to pull down the lattice anyway after they locked up all the windows?
I don't know. I don't remember any of this
I was
stuff.
just like, I don't know why for me. I don't know why. Like I said, it's been a long week. This is a one-time watch for me. I'm not going to go crazy with it. Like, I mean, we really didn't even get into the setup, but, you know, the opening scene, we got a protest and abortion and a bomb goes off. And then you see all of a sudden this guy walk in and take a baby out of a bucket that you assumed was aborted, but it's still alive. Then you get fast forward to 20 years later, and it's Dee Wallace, her 3 daughters, sitting down for Christmas dinner. Not for dinner, but they're sitting down, they're opening presents, they're talking, and Uncle Jerry's there.
And she's selling the house.
Uncle Joe. Jerry's her other son.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jerry's. I'm
Jerry's-
sorry, you're right.
Okay.
Jerry's the son with Down syndrome, and Joe is the uncle. You're right.
Yep.
Well,
And
I
she's
took this
planning-
totally different than Brandon. I'm sorry,
Well,
Dave.
no, maybe you could talk me up. I mean, I actually enjoyed. I don't want to hog the conversation here, so I'll just say this, and then I'm gonna step back. But I actually enjoyed the idea of the look of Cletus, all like sort of deformed and bandaged up, and with the cloak.
Scary.
In fact, the
Until the
funniest
reveal.
line is from Jerry in the film. "Mr. Cletus, may I take your cloak?" That I nearly shit myself laughing. That was so funny. And I love the justice he dishes out right away to the farmer who's being a real prick.
Oh, that was great. Yes.
But so what I'm basically saying here is like almost like the first half of the film I really enjoy, and then once things are starting to be revealed, it's kind of, I don't know, kind of gets a little wonky for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought they was sort of like tongue in cheek. I thought it was very, very funny. I thought it was more like a comedy disguised as a horror film. And then they had this heavy-handed thing. Like I actually said, I'm sort of off my game right now because Brandon, you really threw me for a loop. I thought you were going to love this. I just thought it would be up your alley too. I loved it. I'm not hiding it. I'm like pro-life or pro-choice. What do you think the message of this movie is? Because you can argue it either way.
I agree. You can't tell. It's just shit from every angle. I agree.
You can argue it either way. The way they set it up, the way that it presents itself, the outcome of how it presents itself. You could say, oh, yeah, this movie's totally pro-life. Oh, no, this movie's totally pro-choice.
I agree, and I think that a lot of people, however they feel coming into the movie, is what they're going to friggin' say it is. It's like anything else in politics. It's friggin' whatever you want to call it. But to cast that all aside, it's a slasher movie, and it's a well-made slasher movie. My only I have 2 complaints, and everything else I'm fine with. My 2 complaints is the first couple kills with the CGI. I wasn't expecting the CGI, and I wish they could have done without it because the practicals were all good, so that wasn't necessary. But that's only the first 2 kills. Most of the other stuff was just fine. Not the first 2. The first was the guy. Oh, when the girl got split? When the girl got split,
I didn't have any issue with the girl getting split. I actually thought it was pretty cool.
It was too CGI-ish for me. It was a little too cartoony. And then the second one,
so it looked okay.
Yeah, I guess, but everything else about this film was top notch. So that's what I'm saying. And when it started, this movie came with a little buzz because Jason has been saying it's pretty good slasher. Check it out. And then when I saw the CGI kill, I was like, Then I saw a second one. I'm like, oh no, it's not going to be. But it wasn't that whole movie. It wasn't the whole thing. That's my only beef. And then ultimately, when you finally do see Cletus unmasked, it was too alien. It was too far.
Oh, it was that really hurt. That really hurt.
I know, because I was scared.
I don't think it really hurt it. I just think it hurt it. I do agree. I'm not
really
happy
hurt,
about
but
that.
It was ridiculous. It's like, make him human.
Yeah, it was too far-fetched. It was too alien-y. It was too... And it's unfortunate, because you know me, I'm scared. If I know there's someone deformed under there and the way he talked and shit, I was like nervous when it got to that scene, because I don't think anyone else got fooled, because I didn't get fooled. But that whole scene with the Santa hat, and I think you kind of knew what was coming when you went down there and you saw, the 2 brothers and what's going on. So I know that any minute now, this thing's going to stand up and we're going to see it unmasked, and I'm probably going to be bugging out a little bit by its appearance. And make it look like Jason in Part 3 or Part 2. Something. Make it look more remotely human, and friggin' not that. That took away that sting for me, because I was like on the edge of my seat, like about to get bugged out and be uncomfortable. And then I saw it and I was like, oh.
I wish it never showed it. I wish he revealed itself to Jerry, but then when D. Wallace comes back in, it's almost like you just see the cloak come back over, and you didn't have to see it. So I took a notch away for that, to be honest.
Eyes were too big. Eyes were way too big. The teeth, I could see they were gnarled and nasty teeth. I could see that, but the eyes were huge. It was like alien almost, like an alien, like a gray.
Mother, my eye is popping out.
That spooked me out. Tab, do you feel the same way about it because of what the reasons Brandon said, or is your feel for it for different reasons?
I think some of what Brandon said I agree with. For me, it was mostly that it does have a humorous tone, but it also wants to be a serious movie, and you can't really have both. You can't have both things going on. You have to pick one. And for me, and also the fact that he's like unkillable. He becomes Michael Myers at some point where nothing is killing him. And you also can't have both. You're shambling and falling over yourself, and then also you can't be killed even by a really sharp anchor and all these other things that they throw at him.
Yeah,
I can see your arguments, guys. I can. Maybe it's just that I love it, and these are things that you can argue in every Friday the 13th movie. And we just love them. Tad, maybe not you as much, but based on your Part 2 stance or whatever. But I'm just saying, I was very forgiving of these things. I didn't think of them as issues. I've watched it twice, both times by myself. I watched it once when I was away, and I really enjoyed it. And I watched it once again this morning, and I enjoyed it even more. And I'm almost embarrassed to say, after you guys sort of come down on it, that I actually got teary when Cletus was like, I want to read my letter, and then like he's getting pissed on and whatever and thrown out and whatever. I was like, I felt fucking sorry for him, and I was like, actually like, wow, this is brutal. I guess I'm a sucker for this movie.
I sympathize with that as well. I also felt like Cletus wasn't a bad guy. He was just unfortunately a victim of just a terrible mother. But
a terrible upbringing from the religious guy that beat him and instilled these hard freaking stance. Ideals in his head.
Yeah, well,
he didn't know any better.
But the mother wasn't even, at least the least bit forgiving. Like,
well, she didn't know, and she didn't know at first. She didn't know what happened. She didn't believe it. She thought it was a stunt, and then later on, by the time it happened, he had already killed half her family. So how can you forgive him?
But he brings it up in the first conversation when he's sitting there. He brings it up, and she immediately is like, "This has to do with that from 20 years ago."
She thought it was a prank from pro-life people.
A prank? A 20-year prank? Like, come on. Like,
no, it makes total sense because the way things are nowadays, politically, you don't think, because she even said it. She goes, somebody looked at a freaking thing, the day of the explosion and saw some names and saw who I was and decided to come over here and fuck with me.
I didn't buy that aspect.
There's extremists all over.
Of course there's extremists, but playing a prank doesn't seem extreme to me.
It's not a prank. It's harassment on Christmas Day of going into somebody's house and doing something crazy to shame her in front of her family. Because
killing this daughter was when all of a sudden, okay, now this is extreme. Now I'm going to kill your family because you won't accept me as one of your own.
Now I know how Dave felt when we were reviewing Don't Breathe last year.
No, here's what I'll say, and Tab said it perfectly, is that it's trying to be too many different things in terms of its genre, and I could be forgiving of it if it wasn't so heavy-handed with the abortion thing. I'm like, okay, we're in for a serious horror film, and the ending of the film is pretty serious and really a Ben Bummer, for lack of a better term. But, and when you talk about being teary-eyed, I'm not gonna say I teared up, but one really emotional scene for me was Jerry hearing Diane, and then confronting her. And then confronting her. I really thought Jerry saved this film for me. I didn't mind the sisters. I just felt that they were, especially the Bible thumping sister. I thought it was a little cliche. The kills were awesome. They really were.
Yes. Yeah, and see, that's the thing I appreciated about it. There's some stuff that I've never seen as far as kills, like the umbrella.
Oh,
I was
fantastic.
like, whoa,
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, that part was great. I didn't have any problem with the slasher aspects. It was the tone of the movie for me that messed it up.
So the humor, because here's the deal. I don't like humor in my horror, and I didn't really notice much humor going on in this, no more than you'd see in an average slasher. There's always a little bit of, humor, not comedy. There's a difference. There's always a little humor in slasher. I didn't see anything comical in here. I guess you guys did.
For me, it reminded me of stuff like early Peter Jackson, like Dead Alive. Like he was going for that kind of tone, but also serious. So I don't know. It just didn't work for me.
Oh, I didn't think it went that crazy. I just thought it had some great moments, like with Joe and the dialogue that Joe had. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Some of the things I thought there's some shaky cam that worked in some instances and didn't. There's some editing choices that I wasn't fond of. Again, I was nitpicking because I was like, I gotta find some things I didn't like, because I actually loved all the performances. I actually thought Dee Wallace was great.
See, it's funny because I think the reason why I'm like, I'm not super low, like I said, but the reason why I feel like I'm so low is, for me, the two weakest performances that I wanted more out of in terms of depth of dialogue and depth of emotion with each other is Diane, Dee Wallace, and the character of Cletus. Even though I talk about some of these other characters, some of the daughters being cliche or whatever, not of much substance, those were the two that I wanted to see, like, really much more heavy-handed, like Jerry.
You know what, though? Their fights seemed realistic to me. Their bickering between the sisters, that seemed like a real family, a quabble or a quibble. I mean, that's like things that you see. For some reason, how sometimes you see things when they have families bickering, and you say, wow, that's too fictitious. This seemed to me like some of the back and forth, particularly between the sisters, was very believable. I don't know. It just seems like it would be that way.
That's fine, but make Diana and Cletus really strong. Like the emotion we get with Diane and Jerry, and ultimately what happens with that is heartbreaking. But in terms of Diane and Cletus, it's like I couldn't root for one or the other. You know what I mean? It's like we needed a protagonist, and I don't want to spoil anything. We needed a protagonist, and ultimately, I think we ended up with two antagonists.
So maybe you're letting the morals of the story bother you more. So I didn't find that at all. Actually, I didn't get bogged down by any of that.
Yeah, I wanted somebody to have that breakdown moment where they're like, you know what, like, I messed up. I mean, Cletus definitely had it more than Diane when he's crying. He's like, I think he says something like, why don't, yeah, exactly.
Tell me you love me. Right.
But the reveal of his look just definitely took me out of it.
That did suck. I agree.
And I'm in agreement with that as well. Just the superhuman nature of Cletus didn't bother me because I'm watching a slasher movie and I'm just so used to that being sort of like a trope from the get-go, that these guys are going to be unstoppable. Man, woman, doesn't matter. Machine,
and like I said, some of the choices, I don't know why. Like I talked about going outside for the lattice, giving the shotgun away or dropping it, and then saying we need to find a gun when you just got rid of the shotgun for some reason. And the one daughter, Ginny, it was a cool scene. I actually liked the scene, but the bunny.
Oh yeah.
It's just
wow, the hiding spot.
The hiding spot.
Oh,
I like the look of it, but it was kind of silly. It was almost ridiculous.
It was silly? I thought the lead up was like crazy because you thought it was going to be something else at that point. Not her in there. You thought it was going to be something else. That was like freaking heavy to me. I was like, oh, are they really going to do this? And I don't want to spoil it, but.
Which style?
Style?
Which style?
Very good. Yeah, you're right there. Man, there was something I want. I did it again. I found another way that these two movies that were featured tonight have a hookup together. Can anybody tell me what it is? There's a scene in both movies that is similar.
About the color red.
And then do a color. It has to do with something that happens in the film involving a character and something that he's accused of doing. I'll just say it. No. Close, though. Close. It has to do with like a sexual type thing.
Tell me Padre Peter masturbating in the closet wasn't hilarious.
Not masturbating, but there you go.
Peeping?
Yes. Peeping Tom. There was a Peeping Tom in this one, and the other guy in the first movie got accused of being a Peeping Tom. So once again, we find a connection. Somehow.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who was a Peeping Tom in which films?
Don't Look Now. They accused him of being a Peeping Tom, and he was looking at the two women and his wife. Remember the Italians? What are you doing here? Peeping Tom. Peeping Tom.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then in this movie, when Padre was freaking going upstairs, Peter. And the two people were messing around, the pregnant wife and her husband.
Yes,
well, she's obviously closeted. He's obviously gay. Like he's looking at like that guy left, right, and center the whole time.
You think so? I just thought he was jealous of their relationship. That
No. I think the sister is jealous of the relationship. I think Peter is totally enamored by Scott. He's checking out his ass, and then he's peeking. So when they say they're going out to screw in the laundry room or whatever like that, you see his reaction right away, and he's going up and he's peeking, and he goes up to take care of himself
I
afterwards.
didn't think of that, but I think you're probably right about that.
And that's why when the mom and Susie are having a discussion, and the mom, Dee Wallace's Diane, is giving her money, and she's saying, this is for kids, and she says it's not that easy. She goes, this could make it easy, and you're not sure if she can't have kids and she's having problems, or if it's because they're having problems because
he prefers the cock.
Yeah, there's a little, exactly.
And the comment that she makes later with the sister, that's total bickering sister shit that we've seen. You know what I mean? That was believable. That she was about her not being able to have a kid. She threw out some remark. I forgot exactly what it was, but I thought that stuff was believable. And I haven't mentioned it yet, but I loved in the second half of this movie when we started getting into the way it was lit. With the different color lightings in the different room, and you know how I feel about Suspiria and House of a Thousand Corpses, and movies that they incorporate that type of lighting. I thought, that's what I'm saying, the production values and the choices to do that were great. And then throughout those scenes, you were seeing Christmas lights on the railing and in the background and in the house. And upon the second viewing, I got into it more as a Christmas movie, where the first time watching it, it's like always with me. When I watch a movie the first time, I'm sitting there watching it thinking, okay, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? That's what's going on the whole time. That's why I'm second view Dave. That's why when you watch it the second time, you know what's happened. Now you look at it from a different perspective. And this time I was more so taking in the sights and the sounds, and I wasn't as concerned with the story because I got it the first time, which doesn't always happen with me, sometimes I have questions. But
maybe a second view will help me appreciate
Always
the
does.
Christmas aspect of it. And I'm not saying, of course, I'll give it another watch, but I just, like I said, I just felt like this was like a home invasion slasher that could have been any holiday or any given day, and I
but
didn't
the music,
get there.
the music,
Yeah,
the music was great,
Christmas
too.
music throughout,
Yeah.
and they tied it in with certain things. It was really great, almost like Krampus level with some of the stuff they did.
Let's not get crazy here.
No,
I'm
I'm
saying
telling you,
musically.
there's Cletus when he's going through the woods and he's like, and it's like they have that haunting kind of Christmas music in the background, and then it comes up and it's a beautiful shot of the trees in the forest there. Oh man, you're almost talking me down a half point for that. I jumped it up.
It's
for my
funny because
first
you
view.
were almost you
No one's
guys
talking
were
me down.
you guys were almost talking me up. So
The
Well,
production
when you
values, I
when
think,
you
are
hear
great.
when you hear my rating, you'll be like, I think, astonished. This I
I'm
really
always thrilled when people love films. I really am. It's not that I didn't like it. I just maybe I had higher expectations for it. And like I said, I'll give it that second view. I just felt like I said, Cletus and Diane's overall interaction just didn't. I wanted more depth of dialogue there. I love the ultimate conclusion of the film.
Oh, the FU ending is great.
I love it. It is great, and I don't usually love those types of endings, but I think it's fitting here because, like I said, we don't really have a protagonist when it gets to this point.
That's true. And I like that about my films sometimes. And I notice that you have problems with that. I like when everyone's a shade of gray and I don't have the genuine person to root for and root against, because then I can just sit back and take it for what it is and say, okay, thrill me. Let me just watch it and not have to pull for
Just turned
anybody or
into
pull.
Tommy motherfucking Atkins here.
That's right.
Thrill me.
That's it, man.
Nice. That's awesome.
So yeah, I just enjoy the hell out of it. This is interesting. How we're all coming from different places.
I didn't really have a set grade in my mind. I knew a ballpark, but I'm like kind of playing around in my head with this movie right now.
Well,
Watch it
it's
again.
funny. It's funny, Brandon, that you say that. After the first view, I said, "Oh my God, that was great." And then I was like, the next day, I was like, "Okay, maybe that was more straightforward." Again, like I talked about the Belko Experiment earlier. Like, straightforward is not necessarily bad if it still is thrilling and like we don't have to always have high art and have to dig deep for meanings.
I agree.
I mean, it's great when you can do that, but not every film's like that. And I can appreciate Hollywood or more standard fare as well being entertainment. And so I kind of thought this, and then I watched it again. I'm like, no, it's not just straight laced. I think maybe there could have been some bigger revelation at the end, but I'm only saying that as you brought it up, I'm like, yeah, I could see that, but it doesn't take away from what I enjoy and the rating for the movie. It's a full head explosion.
Full head explosion. I'm with you. I don't think we're not going into spoilers. There's no need to, right?
There's no need to. I don't think there is a need to. Unless there's a question that you're dying to ask, Brandon.
Does anybody? Yeah.
No. I have to. I have to watch it again. I mean, even though I'm feeling like Tab's going to be more in line with my rating. Even
Probably.
though if half of us are so high on the film, I have to give it another watch. But like I said, I didn't even mind the straightforwardness of the story. Yeah, maybe a few more twists would have been cool, but to me, it all came down more of the character development of our two lead characters. Like I said, even though I criticized the daughters and all that, and I praised Jerry and the uncle, when it came down to it, Diane and Cletus, I wanted a little bit more from. Got a little bit more from Cletus. Diane just felt a little bit all over the place. At one point, she felt apologetic. Then the next point, she's trying to, attack Cletus. Like I get the conflict there, and that's the point of it. But I don't know. Something just didn't feel exactly right. But a second view will help for me.
I don't know. Like maybe if we're not going into spoilers, I guess we have to go numeric with our
we're going
ratings.
numeric. I'm ready if you guys are ready. Yeah, man. I mean,
Let's do it.
Chad, be our guest.
Yeah.
Okay. I would probably give this a 7.5. I probably need to watch it again as well. I did watch it twice, but I felt a lot of the same things that the second time that I felt the first time. But maybe I need to go back and watch it with the idea that it is a more straightforward slasher.
Wow.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting to come in that high the way you've been talking.
I wasn't expecting it that high either, and she actually came in a little bit higher than I did. But believe it or not, I did raise my grade a half a point here because of the conversation. We did have some good conversation. We talked about things. One of the things I've always talked about that I don't know why, for some reason, I just have a hard time grasping onto in films is music. And if you're telling me the Christmas soundtrack is there and it's really bringing you into the film and I'm missing it, that's because I'm paying attention to the dialogue and the characters, and I'm not really listening to the music. So I got to go back and give it a fair watch, and I'll adjust it for that. And right now I'm going to come in at a 7. That's a half a point higher than where I was coming in it. So like I said, I wasn't coming in super low. I just I wanted to be at that like 9 and above range because I really felt like
a 6 I was expecting a 6 out of Tab and a 5 out of you.
I was gonna probably be around a 6 to 6.5, but you guys talked me up a little bit. There's some merit to it looking at it as a straight slasher.
And I'll tell you what, the second time we'll do that to you with the music. And I'll say this: I haven't talked about this on the show, but lately, and I never thought this would happen to me. Lately, I've been preferring watching movies on my computer, on my Mac, with my freaking headphones, because I sound design, because of where I'm at right now, I can't put my music as loud as I want to on my sound system. So it's kept in check. It's still good. I still have a good sound system, but it's kept in check. But when I watch it on my computer and I'm right into it and I have the freaking earbuds in both ears, I'm noticing a lot more, in the sound design department and in the music than I have in a while. So this movie definitely did that for me. So that helped a lot with it. And see, I'm not even coming in all that high. I'm an 8 out of 10. I mean, so
what?
Like,
you made me feel this bad? We're only a point apart.
That's what I'm saying.
You almost came in higher than Dave.
That's why I was so surprised at her rating. It would have been an 8.5 if not for that reveal at the end and the way he looked. But how high am I going to go? It's a well-made slasher film that has a few faults with the CGI and the reveal at the end. How high can I go?
That's still pretty high.
Well, you can go high because I went 9.
Wow. Nice.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I actually was even thinking it would have been a 9.5, but that that Cletus reveal and some of those editing choices, just some shots on the second half of the film just threw me off a little bit. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I can understand giving a perfect rating for imperfect film. If we do that all the time. Like that, sometimes imperfections are what draw you to it. Like Army of Darkness has a ton of them. I still love that movie. But where I'm going with it is some of these I just thought, could have been avoided. I don't know if it was budgetary restraints or restrictions or what it was, but I thought it could have been avoided. But that Cletus reveal could have easily just been edited out.
Amen.
Absolutely.
And done.
Let me ask you something. Now, this obviously, all of us actually gave it pretty good ratings considering we were on different sides at multiple points. But this technically counts as an Australian film, right?
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think this would count as so it wouldn't be eligible for our top 50 slashers.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's weird because I was talking to a friend recently. I was talking to Derek and mentioning some of the slashers I still have to watch for the show. And I brought up like Charlie's Farm and a couple others. He's like, dude, you're doing North American. I'm like, oh, shit, you're right. So Charlie's Farm's off. Masks is off, obviously. But
I knew Masks was off.
I knew Masks was off. And I'm just saying, like, there's some good slashers we're leaving off.
Does Girl House count? Or was that foreign, too?
No, it's Canadian.
That counts.
Girl House counts, yeah. And when we say the Christmas music, we're not talking about you're going to have like jingle bells and silver bells in the background. We're talking about the score incorporating that Christmas theme. It was, at the beginning, the best part A Christmas Horror Story.
I knew you were going to
that
say
opening
that.
credit sequence.
Yes.
It's that
love
style that kind of seeps in very subtly in the background. It's beautiful.
Yes.
It
The
works
Christmas
very
Horror
well.
Story, like I could hear that now. That stuck with me. But I'm
This doesn't open up Christmas. This opens up abortion. Ah, we hate it. We love it. It's all abortions for all. Abortions for none. That's the
Abortion.
Simpsons. And then
You know what it reminded me of? Krampus in the beginning. Remember how granted Krampus had that comical thing, but it was done the way it was shot. Remember with everybody in the mall trouncing and all that slow motion and all that?
Yeah.
That's what this reminded me of when it began, except it was an abortion critic, but it was the way it was shot and just kind of the tone of it at first. I was thinking of Krampus. Completely different type of films, but that just popped into my head. But
Yeah, I mean, we could go all night going, how did Cletus even get there? Did he just walk cloak and all from wherever he was all the way up to the country
The guy
home?
died.
Exactly. If you really want to tear it apart, we could tear it apart all night.
very
Jason
Cloak and
walking up
Dagger.
to the house. Yeah.
Literally Cloak and Dagger. This was the sequel to Cloak and Dagger.
oh, shit.
No.
But it's good slasher fun.
I
Check it
expected
out.
Eddie Murphy to pop out and go, Cletus.
Oh, shit.
That
Yeah.
was a great show. That was a
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you.
great
Thank you for
show.
joining
Tab.
us tonight.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh,
that
well,
was
thank you so much for having me.
a blast.
We're just sorry we kept you up so late, Ted.
Oh, not at all. I'd be up this late anyway. So it's much later for you guys because you guys are on the East Coast.
Yeah, well, we're used to it, kind of.
We tried to make the
good.
cutoff too, so we went
Yeah.
late. But shockingly, not as late as I expected with doing as many round robins as we did.
Right, and having 4 of us. So yeah, Red Christmas. Guys, check it out. I think we can, all of us, despite our rating, at least recommend checking it out.
I always recommend checking out a film, even if I don't like it. In this case, I didn't dislike it. I definitely recommend checking it out. And I'd
Spookies.
recommend
You
myself
checking out Spookies?
No, Spookies is shit. Literally.
That's funny. That's funny. And guys, make sure you, Ted, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? I was going to do it, but you could probably do a much better job of it.
Oh, sure. The show is called Test Pattern or Girls in the Back Row, whichever one you want to check out. Girls in the Back Row is at TGI TBR. Test Pattern is at Test Pattern Show.
Yeah, definitely check out both.
Absolutely, because I'll tell you what, when Tab does a show, she comes like crazy prepared. She has background on everything she does. She shows up. She's very good at what she does. So you guys.
Yeah, I feel self-conscious about my performance tonight now, after hearing Tab.
The biggest reveal is just tonight?
Just tonight, she dropped pontificate on us.
We've used pontificate on the show.
No,
you made
we
fun of
have
me.
not.
Yeah,
There's
because you made fun of me for using it one time.
Yeah, but you also then go ahead and ruin it by using hyperbole.
Hyperbole is fine. I'm telling you.
I said it is fine.
He did say it was fine.
I did say it.
It's like cracking wise. You don't hear cracking wise that much, but it does count.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Hey, it's been a while.
Yeah.
You need a third on Test Pattern?
Oh, there's one thing we didn't talk about in Red Christmas, and I'm just going to say it real quick. Vicky's mother is a bitch. I'm sorry, Dave. I saved it in my mind. I'm like, I got to come back to this because that was just out of nowhere.
That's what I get when I just read my notes. Vicky's mom's a bitch. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Vicky. She must. Yeah. I can't even explain it. Yeah, I suck. I know. I suck with and without notes. Look at me. I read my notes. I suck. I lose my notes. I'm lost. I suck even worse.
Dave Z. You
What am I
got
gonna
the Dave
do?
Z fanboys.
Yeah,
Dave Z Nation.
Yeah, they're out there somehow for some
Are we
reason.
going to get the hell out of Dodge?
Yeah, let's get the hell out of Dodge. Tab, thank you again.
Thank you guys.
Tab.
It was awesome to have you here. Come back anytime. Just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to drop by again. And I'll say, okay, let's do it, guys. So make sure you check her out and her shows and everything else. And next show is show 45. It's the big proto slasher special. 4 proto slashers. We don't even know what they are. We're still undecided,
2 of them.
aren't we? We know 2 of them.
We got
Psycho
50%.
and Texas Chainsaw. Yeah, we're halfway there, but we're doing proto slashers because get ready for the big show 50. But anyway, that's next show. So we'll see you again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. We love you guys. Tab, will you do us a favor and give us your famous outro that you do on Girls in the Back Row?
Oh, Girls in the Back Row? Sure. Watch horror movies, keep America strong.
Boom. And not Canada. Peace out. No, no, I love Canada. I'm sorry.
What a fucking dick.